lose your way, gaining some altitude can bring some perspective. When you lose your way, gaining some altitude can bring some perspective. When you lose your way, gaining some altitude.
Sorry for the echo. Um, all right, I'm just setting up here. I don't know why I stream on Twitch. Nobody watches me on Twitch, but you know, I already have it set up so I'm multi-streaming. Okay, there's that. And yeah, okay. Uh, pull up chat here.
I'd have lost myself long ago if I'd
Hey,
allowed
Cookie, what's
myself
up?
to be led by the whispers of the abyss.
I've
Surviving is tough. But taming the beast within
what's up?
is tougher.
Oh, let me turn off this. Yeah, so I've pretty much been a little bit demotivated from doing content. I just needed a break after the whole Discord thing, and kind of just want to explain and rethink my content, I guess, but be more open about what kind of content I want to make, and what kind of I think the Discord was actually just a pretty bad decision to do because I wasn't ready to get people in there that wanted to be argumentative, and I do make videos that are they're argumentative about Wuthering Waves to some degree, but I don't really want to deal with that in a Discord like all the time. And someone said something in the Discord before they left that really got me thinking, and it really made me think. They're accusing me of having an echo chamber, right? And so I kind of got upset at that, and I'm thinking, well, and then I started thinking about echo chambers, right? I started thinking about echo chambers, and I started thinking, well, echo chambers kind of form naturally, right? Because if people are going to watch your content, they're going to. I mean, most people aren't hate watchers, I'm assuming. I guess it depends on who the content creator is. But most people aren't hate watchers, right? And especially if you're like starting out new, they kind of at least agree with your takes, right? That's why Wuthering Waves players, I guess they don't really like me that much because they disagree with my takes about the game a lot, right? And so, I mean, at least until you grow bigger, it wants me to do a quest before I can even go into the teapot. Come on. but yeah, like they at least agree with you to some extent. Um, and so Echo, until you grow bigger, that's what I was trying to say. As a content creator, until you grow bigger, then you'll start getting hate watchers that, you know, as most big streamers or big content creators do, they'll get hate watchers, right? And oh man, I just want to access my teapot, but I have to do a quest because I'm locked behind a quest. Okay, but anyways. So basically, as you're starting out and you gain followers and people watch your videos, usually they agree with you to some extent, right? Because if you think about it, I don't really like Tectone. So I'm not one of his viewers, right? Hey, what's going on? How do I sit down and rest? Okay. Okay. Oh, when did all those guards get here? I couldn't read that. It's too fast. Guys, I guess I gotta kill the guards. But yeah, I don't watch Tectone, right? So I'm not one of his viewers. Oh man, hold on a sec. Okay, I gotta sneak into the camp. Okay. Why is this a complicated quest?
Let's hope you'll put up a good fight.
All right. You know what? This is crazy, man. So I'm not I'm not one of Tectone's viewers. So obviously I'm not gonna like most people who watch Tectone or some other controversial streamer. They're not. I mean, they're. What is this quest, man? Like, what is this quest? I when I started this quest, I did not expect it to be like a complicated quest. Like, this is kind of crazy, bro. Where am I supposed to go? Intersections of the camp. Okay. Okay. Did I go here? Anyways. So that's what got me upset is that... so I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to make content in the future, I mean, it's just going to be an echo chamber. Because I'm going to have to... I don't understand the point of not having... So Quarley... Okay, Quarley... in that discussion, which I didn't really explain in the video when I'm done with Wuthering Waves players, is in that discussion, sorry, this quest is kind of, I'm having a hard time paying attention. Like, what does it want me to do? Oh, okay, once we go over here, wow. But in that discussion, we were having... They're basically telling me, well, I'm guessing they're a P-Squeak viewer, right? And I have nothing against P-Squeak, but they told me you're not like P-Squeak. And P-Squeak, he doesn't want to be... He doesn't get into drama and stuff like that, which I respect. That's fine. But at the same time, that was one of the things that kind of upset me, is that they're telling me, well, you're not like this content creator that I watch. And I'm like, of course, I'm not him because... Like, I'm not like them because I'm not him, right? And I'm not saying that because P Squeak, I have respect for the guy. He doesn't want it to get into drama, which, that's good. I mean, I do it because, unfortunately, I guess I like to ruffle some feathers sometimes. But so I have to get into this door, I guess. I don't even know, dude. So I guess I can just indwell this guy. And then what? Do I just walk past these? Do I float over them or something? Like, what is the point of this? Okay. And, anyways, I can see clearly from here, but they might not spot us closer. It's better to listen from where we are for now. I have to call the last special goods coming to you again this time. Not a problem at all. Just follow the usual protocol. Sorry, I didn't expect to do this quest because I just wanted to finish my weeklies, but this is locking me out of my teapot, which is something I don't like the Kenshin does. It's kind of annoying. Yes, we'll see the goods delivered before the air race. Someone's going to need it. Just done taking over there too. Wrap up and leave. Blah, blah, blah. It's not what Paimon imagined. Let's head back ourselves. Don't let it you. So I have to leave. Oh. Man, this is like a long quest, man. Okay. It can't be right. Raw. What's wrong with it? What did bring you here? What's wrong? Raw. Checked out properly. Don't be impatient. It'll be your turn soon. You're up first. Follow me. Do you understand? Sure. Man, this is just... What the bog say? Let's go. I definitely am not like a story streamer, probably, because I'm not... Anyways, Paimon was so worried that she broke out in a cold sweat. Good thing she hid, or else that lady would have caught Paimon instead of paying attention to you two Saurians. You escaped without us. Any slower than this would have become an impossible crime. I don't understand how a quest locks you out of the teapot, but okay. Sure, no one can accuse the Tomisaur. Well, but don't you say scary stuff like that. Anyway, Paimon was just making adjustments to the plan on the fly. We would have been able to get away if we hadn't caused a commotion outside. Sure was lucky that the box was filled with Saurus crackers. The Tomisaurs swarmed over them after the box knocked over. It was pandemonium. Paimon didn't see who was outside. Paimon would transaction here. Sounded different. Either way, that's Taruka, and we saw her earlier. Okay, can I enter the teapot now? I'm guessing I can't still because the quest isn't done. Okay, now I can. Anyways, so let's go back to what I was talking about. So basically the argument, pay attention. Quest yourself. Yeah, it locks co-op. So teapot is considered co-op because I guess people can enter your teapot. Yeah, so basically like I'll criticize Genshin, which I just did, right? I don't really like that quest lock stuff like that. I'm fine with that. That's fine. But the problem is whenever I criticize Wuthering Waves, Corley was there to like rush to the defense of the game, and I'm like, okay, great. So ultimately, the content that content creators make, it's going to be their opinion, right? And all these things are just opinion, which is perfectly fine. Like, we don't have to, I mean, that's why I don't watch Wuthering Waves content creators because they have their opinion about the game, which a lot of them I disagree with, right? So, anyways, and it wasn't just that. There was also like some other person hinting at racist jokes, and I'm like telling them, "Hey, you can't do that, man. You got to stop." And you know, you may live in a different country, but we can't say those things here. And so I'm basically saying, okay, well, you know, I just didn't want to like moderate a Discord while also thinking about growing the channel and creating videos and then streaming. It was too much all at once. And the Discord was where a lot of the drama was coming from because it's like this everyday thing, right? And so anyways, when I was let me just do this. Let's make 10 of them and craft them all. But when I was
If you ever have
it kind of demotivated me a lot because it's just like I had to face like live criticism from my people in my Discord, like about the content I'm making and telling me what I should and shouldn't do and how I should behave. And I'm going to be honest with myself. And I think I haven't really been honest with my content is, yes, I do try and ruffle some feathers, okay? Because the videos I made about Wuthering Waves, they are slightly that, right? Now I try to have constructive criticism about the game when I'm talking about it. But ultimately, I'm kind of making fun of the glazing, right? Like, there's just too much glazing, in my opinion, right? And so, you know, it's like, I don't know. It's hard to say because
Ad Astra Abyss.
it really made me think that it's just a video game, and also it's kind of like petty. It's like we're just talking about video games here. It's not that serious, right? Like, you know, there's the recent stuff with Tectone and the allegations against him and stuff like that. I personally think he's not a great person. Like, he says, he parades around his virtues on stream. He's basically saying, he's always like, I'm a great guy and everyone knows me as a great guy. But that's besides the point. But we're talking about video games, okay? I don't care about having arguments telling and saying this is this is a game that I'm not interested in, or having stronger opinions about things, about video games, because like ultimately it's not really a big deal. But now when I thought about that, I'm like, okay, but I am excited about a game, right? Like, I'm excited about the new patch in Genshin, right? And so when I'm trying to play it, and then people are pinging me in the Discord, and I'm like reading the Discord chat, and it's like, yeah, well, Genshin sucks, and then every time I criticize Wuthering Waves, it's like someone's rushing to the defense of the game, and it just became like, man, why am I even doing this, right? So I was like, okay, well, do I continue on? Because, like, how to say this? Like, I think being neutral is a bit boring, especially for content, right? Like, if you're just neutral all the time and you placate everybody and you have like no opinion of your own and you don't say what you really think and you don't basically you're just like a peacemaker all the time, and you're trying to appease Wuthering Waves players, and it's like, or you're trying to appease Genshin players or whoever, right? it's just kind of like, okay, well, that's not really what I think or how I feel. Like I feel like there are content creators that do that because they just want to garner the largest audience, basically. And the more you say good things about games that many people like, and you don't get on anyone's bad side because you give an opinion that people aren't going to handle, then you're just going to garner. You kind of stay away from that, right? But that's not really how I feel. So, I'll be honest. I'm getting bored of Wuthering Waves. Like the game is kind of boring. Like I played it earlier before streaming because I didn't really want to stream the game. I wanted to play Genshin, and I don't really even the combat nowadays. Like even the combat now, it's kind of stale. Like it's just all you do is you swap. You build up intro outro skills, and then you swap and you do skills and you do ultimate. It's like it's the same thing, but there's no elemental reactions, and there's less team members. There's only 3 characters in the team, and there's parrying and dodging, but the parrying and dodging is not even that difficult now, right? Like for me, at least, anyway. I mean, maybe for some people it's hard, but tension. Okay, your take on the matter is fine. The problem is that the WoW community doesn't like criticism. They want to live in their little effing bubble of BS. Again, straight cult-like behavior. I mean, it honestly is, right? And my critique of Genshin is that the Genshin community is that, yes, Twitter people are crazy, okay? Like, Twitter people, it doesn't matter what the topic is on Twitter. Like, there's just going to be deranged people on Twitter. For some reason, it's breeding into, like, this cesspool of, like, weird takes, and, like, people are just, like... What I don't like about Twitter is people just parade around their opinion. Like, they have to tell you, oh, I don't give a fuck, and this is my opinion, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, they're doing it such in, like, a hostile manner. But, that being said, yes, the Genshin Twitter community is crazy. Genshin anything community, or the Twitter community anything is crazy. But but over the years, I've only heard honest criticism towards Genshin. Like, yes, the low amount of rewards. People talked about that all the time. Yes, the lack of end game and quality of life and stuff like that, right? I mean, lack of end game is a personal thing, right? Like, if you don't like the game because there's just not enough combat content, and there's nothing I can tell you, right? That's not what most of the game is about. But so, I mean, there is still a lot of content creators that talk about meta and different characters, and there is Abyss content, but the Wuthering Waves community, I see like constant defense and like white knighting, and like our game is flawless, perfect, 10 out of 10, and it's like, man, it's really not, right? And I see this stuff, and I make videos on it, and I see the community behavior, and the more I watch, the more I get into it, the more it turns me off of the game itself. And I know it's kind of stupid. It's like, well, maybe a game shouldn't... Just playing a video game, it's a single-player game. You don't have to interact with people and co-op with people, right? But again, like, I decided to put my my opinion out there of the content and make videos on it. So, okay, well, it kind of does affect me. And I mean, I don't really think the game is, like, spectacular. It's okay. I am kind of getting bored of it. I think it's kind of boring. It's getting more boring as the game goes on. And so, but the thing is, the community itself is like, no, it's the perfect game. And then they're always talking about Genshin, and it's like, to me, it just feels like it's some insecure behavior. And it's like, okay, do I really want that in my Discord? No, I don't really want that in the Discord. Like, honestly, it's not something I'm interested in listening to every single day, right? So it's like, anyways, look what happened to Foxel, WooCC. Now he's branded a traitor to the Woo community for offering a path from the hive mind. Yeah, I mean, I heard the drama with him kind of died down a little bit, but I don't know exactly
Sometimes, after failing the
how much it
first
died down.
times and never
I haven't
finding
really been
the
paying
source of
attention to
wisdom,
Foxel, but
people lose
there was a
confidence
video
in
that I
the
kind of
psychological
agreed with where
quest.
he was talking
In their
about
plan, we call those people the wingless.
he was talking
The
about,
most
you know,
outstanding
you don't
beings
have to be
who take the
hostile
flying
to
trials in the first place.
other communities, other players, and other people, and
But it
you
will
can
be
just
different
accept
again.
that people,
And until
you
that
know,
day comes,
maybe they don't think your game is
people
perfect,
will
or
quietly watch over them.
they think it's okay, right, or whatever.
Dinosaurs watch over
But
their unfledged young.
the rings, let's be honest, 2.0 looks like a Fontaine ripoff. I mean, a lot of the characters in 2.0 Wuthering Waves, I'm not too excited for them. Maybe Zanny and what's up, Rings? Maybe Zanny. One of them's supposed to be a gun character. I don't know how she'll play exactly. It could be kind of lame. We'll see. I like Chichia, so that's a thing. But I can't really pinpoint what's boring to me. Like, there's not just one thing about Wuthering Waves that I find boring. I guess one thing I can think of off the top of my head is just being in the world of the game. It feels bland. Like, it feels mostly uninspired, like stock footage. Like when I play Genshin, I'll compare it to Genshin, yeah, okay. But the game world in Genshin is like, I like it aesthetically more. You could say maybe, okay, I like color saturation or more colorful worlds, but I think it's just more cohesive and it's better to. That's just personal taste. Ultimately, it comes down to personal taste, right? And it's like, yeah. Let me finish what Tension was saying. He took down all of his streams where he was even remotely critical of Wuthering Waves. I'm not knighting for him, just pointing out how funny that is, at least to me. Oh, okay. I didn't know he did that, but yeah. And the thing is, though, we are seeing a shift of a lot of people are getting out of Genshin, and that's kind of natural. Like, I mean, it's been 4 years, right? Any game is going to lose players after 4 years. I mean, it's going to be 5 years when Snezhnaya comes out, right? So it's like, yeah, I mean, that's natural. So as we see the shift, but it feels petty. It's like the shift is like they have to leave, but also like talk about the game constantly as they leave and play other games and then compare the game to Genshin all the time. And it's like, man, sure. I mean, you can do that, but it's not really going to convince. It doesn't convince me, and I'm sure it doesn't convince the people who still like Genshin for what it is, right? And, but yeah, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I'll stay for Wuthering Waves 2.0 just to see, because, you know, I've already almost max union rank or whatever it is. And I'm thinking, I mean, how much more different is it going to be, right? It's just going to kind of be the same thing, really. Apparently the map is huge, but that doesn't really excite me. If it's a big map, it's got to be like, what am I? Is it just going to be a big generic map of stock? You know, like for instance, okay, I can go to Enkanomiya, right? The map here probably not that big. Like if you look at it, it's not that big, right? But in and of itself, it's like it's unique from the rest of the game, right? There's not really an area like this in the rest of the game, right? And it's got some crazy lore in it, right? It had. I finished most of the content here, but So the new Wuthering Waves map is like, it's going to be big, and it's going to be, you know, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stuff to do, but it's like, I don't know. Is it that interesting? I mean, or is it that much? And even at baseline, how different is it to Genshin that it has to be criticized? Like, you know, a lot of Wuthering Waves, especially with the exploration stuff, like even if you think the world is bland and open, the open world is bland. But how much different is it than Genshin? Because in Genshin, what I do is I go around and I look for chests and puzzles and then do quests and stuff. It's literally the same thing as Wuthering Waves. So how is that any different? And why does Genshin need to be criticized for literally having the same type of content, right? I don't know. That's just the kind of weird stuff that the Wuthering Waves players always talk about, right? It's always there. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, if I get out of Wuthering Waves and stop talking about it and like stop playing the game, I'm probably going to move on to Neverness to Everness, right? And so it's like, I got to wait for that game to come out, and I don't know, you know, I didn't want to make the Discord or have the Discord because a lot of people in the Discord, it's just going to be fighting, right? And it's like, how much is that going to influence me when I play the game? I just have to hear this constant fighting between players, and you know there's going to be a lot of fighting between Neverness to Everness and Project Mugen whenever that comes out. So it's going to be another tribal thing or whatever. I don't know if Neverness to Everness is going to compare itself to Genshin. Probably, maybe, because it has a reaction system too, right? So there's a small reaction system. It's not as complex as Genshin, but it might be close enough where people are constantly comparing the game, right? And I do have, anyways, so that's the thing, like, you know, going into Neverness to Everness, and I don't know if I want a Discord when I go into that game, but also, I mean, how much more can I talk about Wuthering Waves players and, like, talk about how deranged the community is, really? I mean, like, we all know they are, so how much more can I make a video on it, right? How did I die there? Just one hit. Okay. I'm a noob, I guess. But Bennett had half health. He dies in one hit.
Go! You're free now!
Oh, I'm just gonna heal. But yeah,
Farewell!
so it's like, how often can, I mean, what other video can I make? Right? I was gonna make Wuthering Waves the best game ever created. That was a video idea I was gonna think about making, and we all know where that's what I would say in that video. Wuthering Waves, the best game ever created, because if you watch my Genshin video, so I'll probably, but you know what I don't like about Wuthering Waves 2 is the fucking 50-day patches. It's like, damn, man, that's like a long time. So, okay, I guess I just suck at this game, bro. That's just weird. I'm trash. I'm trash. Okay, you can heal. Okay, I don't have Chaska. I'm cooked. Bro. Oh, it's gonna work. It's gonna work. You know what? I need Chaska though. I can't really phase transition. she'll be up. She'll be up.
Light it up.
Yeah. So. I don't know how interesting it's going to be to make.
Go. You're free now.
I mean, I could just shit on Wuthering Waves all day. I don't mind, honestly. I mean, ultimately, it's just going to be my opinion. And if people are going to be, like, upset that, you know, I'm saying what I think about Wuthering Waves, then sure, that's fine. But I just don't want them in the Discord, right? They're telling me why I'm wrong all the time. It's like, okay, well, if I'm wrong, then sure. But ultimately, it is my opinion, right? Just like they have their opinion about Genshin. But, you know, anyways. So, you've heard rumors about banner changes. I heard rumors about that Genshin is getting the first phase banners are lasting the entire patch. I don't know how true that is, though. I don't know. That would be cool, but why would they do that, right? Like, because the rerun stuff, like, it's becoming... Maybe that's there to combat the reruns, like, not being frequent enough, or there's too many characters now, so it's like, okay, well, their first banners will last the entire patch. It would be cool. That'd be cool. Because it'd be way better for free-to-play players and low spenders to be able to get the character they want, right? So that would be good. I'd be happy with that. And yeah. An HSR, I mean, I thought they already had, like, they have, like, rerun banners that have, like, three or four characters on them already or something. Yeah, it's true. The rerun will start in mid-patch. So I heard that Mawika and Sitlali are first phase, and they're going to last the entire patch, and then the rerun starts in the middle. Is that what the rumor was? Because that seems good, like really good. That seems awesome. And I think that would be really something you can't really criticize, because a brand new characters or a brand new character patch or banner being on the first or lasting the entire patch, that would be good. So yeah. We'll see. We'll know in how long. Not for a while. Right? Like December 20th, I think, is the stream date. So we'll know if it's, like, exactly true, because
Or do you not even have the courage?
because it could just be a closed beta test thing, right?
Is it my turn?
So we don't know if...
Light it up.
Not too far now.
I mean, I'm hoping it is, but...
Going in. Time to shine.
Now that's more like it.
Open
Is
fire.
it my turn now?
Open fire.
Hey, wait. am I
Spare
fine?
your energy.
Open
Running is
fire.
of little use.
Let's light it up.
Have a taste of purgatory.
Want to come down? Oh my god, I'm terrible.
Not too far now.
Look. Trapped
It's like an
like a
MMO.
bunch of helpless animals.
Benny's adventure team.
Alright, well anyways, I'm terrible at the game. Nothing else new. I'm bad because I'm, like, streaming and I want to, like,
With these rising
I want to yap, but I'm
flames.
not good at yapping and playing the game as well. Yet. I gotta get more used to it. But yeah, I mean, that would be good if the banners were like that, but, you know, who knows if that's going to be true.
The show begins.
My blade is all that remains.
Free.
Open fire.
A lot of people are... What do you guys think about Mawika? Like, a lot of people are not liking the
Your
motorcycle,
punishment made
but I don't know, I think it
manifest.
looks cool. I don't get the issue. like, it's been done before, sure, but it hasn't been done in Genshin yet. I don't know. Like, it's just a video game, right? It's like, I'm not gonna...
Only the beginning.
There's like a lot of debate about...
Not too far now.
Oh, fuck. I'm dumb. Anyways, you died of the crab. Okay, there you go. So, saw people saying that it starts with CCZ's 1.4, but I don't play the game, so no idea. So it might be all Hoyo games. They're, well, at least the main ones. Yeah, we'll see, I guess. I mean, but the thing with ZZZ is they're not running double banners yet. We'll see, I don't know. But it could be it could be like a thing where, because they're having like they want to have less reruns in certain games. So the initial banner is like longer, which is a good idea. And yeah, so Mavuika, I saw her animations and stuff, and it's like, she looks cool. I like it. I mean, I don't. I guess is she not a support, or is she more of a DPS, or is she both? I don't even know. I haven't looked into it yet, but to me, it looks like she's more of like a main DPS, and she has some like off-field pyro. As an Australian fan of motorcycle gangs, that is their style of dressing. I like her a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's a really like modern, futuristic type bike, which is fine. I actually think it would look weirder if it was like a Harley or something, or like a Roadhog type bike. I don't know how to explain it, but the futuristic bike looks good. And I mean, I'm gonna pull for her. I pull for every Archon, so I should have enough. I mean, yeah. And Sitlolly with the pillows and stuff. I mean, I like Sitlolly as a character, but the pillow gameplay is like whatever. I mean, she's like support, probably gonna be DPS at like C6, I guess. But I gotta fight. I gotta fight Child here. Oh yeah, you wrote what kind of motorcycle do you have? I have never ridden a motorcycle. I've ridden a bicycle, but I've never ridden a motorcycle myself. So probably because the motorcycle in
This opportunity is quite hard to come by.
Canadian weather is not really. I mean, half the year it's not great to ride a motorcycle. Let's put it that way.
Not bad, not bad, not bad. You've got a trick or two.
Alright, Child, you're gonna get destroyed here. I'm farming you for the battle pass, Mr. Tartaglia. Alright. One shot. There you go. Suzuki Ninja. Yeah, those are the race lean forward like race style bikes. Those are cool. Like I would get one of those if I were to get a bike. Because I like that design and how it looks more. But Mavuika's bike looks, I don't know, it looks like a... I mean, it's just futuristic. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm not an expert on bikes, but... And then they're giving us the... we'll probably get the new 4-star for free. The Lanyan, or whatever his name is, because we get the Lantern Rite Selector every year, so she should be on it, right? Which is another good thing that Genshin does. A lot of people don't talk about is usually when there's a new Leeway character, 4-star, we get them for free because that's happened in the past 2 years, right? And it'll be 3 years coming up. So before it was Yao Yao, or has that happened every year? Because like, did it happen with Yanfei? Like, if we didn't get Yanfei in her first banner, we got Yanfei, and
I'm a little out of
if you
practice these
didn't
days.
get Yao Yao, I think we got Yao Yao, Ga Ming, and Yanfei and stuff like that. But maybe it's just me being weird, but I don't see anything off-putting with it. It makes sense lore-wise. I think people just hate Natlan for the sake of hating it at this point. Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm sort of... well, I'll talk about that subject, like, as a more meta subject that is sort of
I'm in the mood for some peacemaking.
becoming... I'm sort of the opposite, right? It's also becoming a little bit annoying where at this point, I think people are just hating Genshin for the sake of hating it. Or just using it, like justifying why they quit the game. And it's like, so they have to like hate it. And if they see anything new come out with the game, they just have to like criticize it or say it's crap because they don't want to like it because they quit it or they quit the game already or they're playing a different game. And it just feels like Genshin is just getting hate for the sake of getting hate. And Tectone community is a big part of that, honestly. Right? Like, that's all he talks about, which is just weird, man. Like, he just talks about that shit. Like, I was watching a recent stream of his, or some kind of video, or I don't know. I was watching something recent of Tectone, and he's still talking about how he hates Genshin. And how he thinks Genshin is, like, the evil of the gacha industry, and it's like, whoever plays the game is just, like, terrible person, or a terrible person. It's just weird, man. But, and it's kind of disheartening to see. So it's like, that's why I didn't want the Discord, is because I'm kind of the opposite. Like, the more the game goes on, I mean, I like Nat, right? I like the character designs. Like, a lot of people didn't like Auroron, but I like how he looks.
Here we go.
And how he, like, his character, right? And I don't know, man. Like, and at work, as a policeman, I drive a BMW R. I'm guessing it's one of the cop. Is that the cop motorcycle? Like they have like big side bags or something. Yeah, I kind of know what they look like, but I never really. I don't see them that much, honestly. Like that. That's the thing in Canada. You don't really see that because half the year you probably don't want to ride a motorcycle. You'd be freezing, man. So probably down south there's more like cop cars like that, or cop bikes.
Gaining some altitude can bring some perspective.
I don't play Genshin, so I wouldn't know. But I don't understand Natlan's tech, like the DJ stuff. It threw me off. Okay, the thing with it's kind of like with Fontaine they have robots, right? And with Sumeru they had the internet. And it's weird because the first three nations, they weren't that technological. Like Mondstadt, Liyue, and Inazuma are all kind of like, they lack that technology factor. Sumeru had the internet, right? And honestly, they have knowledge capsules and stuff like that. And a lot of people are saying with Sumeru it kind of fit the theme more, but I'm like, not really, because if you look at the visor with the Akasha, like the Akasha visor in Sumeru was like an augmented reality visor. So that's highly futuristic, right? But if you look at Fontaine, you know, there's like robots. I can find one like right here. Look, there's a robot walking around. Like, I mean, but when you look at Fontaine as a whole, it doesn't really give a futuristic vibe. It's just like a big city that has. To me, it looks like a big fantasy city. Like I don't really get tech from it, right? But they have robots, and they're powered by the Numa Osea type energy or whatever. So, or even when I zoom out on Fontaine, right? Like if I look at it from a distance, it gives me like it's raining, but I don't really get like a techno city vibe to it. I just get like a big waterway, like monorail type city, which is not really that futuristic, honestly, in my opinion. And then if you go to Sumeru, it was kind of like a hybrid Sumeru. It had tech stuff, but then it had like really grounded like stuff like that. Like obviously it's a tree city, right? But it had the internet, and I think that was, it's not in the lore. It's not there anymore because it got dismantled. But honestly, what I'm thinking they're doing with Natlan and Genshin is they just want to have fun with certain characters. They don't really want to be limited, which is like, that's fine. I don't mind that because, now we have guns, like characters have guns and stuff. And like, so they want Jalonen to be a DJ. It's like, okay, sure, whatever. But we also have like a music player, so it's not like these things in our bag. We can find these around the map. The spin crystal, radiant spin crystal. So there are music players in Genshin, like lore-wise, canonically. You go to the teapot. It plays music, right? So it's like a DJ thing isn't really that inconceivable. Sure, it looks like, a record scratch turntable thing with Jalonen, but okay, sure. But where's the music player? I put it over here, like this thing. I mean, what even is this? It's just like it doesn't even look like a music player. It kind of looks like a little flower pot, honestly. But anyways, so in my opinion, they just want to do they just want to be creative, right? And it's like, okay, fine. Like, but honestly, it's what Cookie said. It's just they're trying to. I think people just want to hate on Genshin, and they're finding reasons to hate the game, right? Because, I mean, when you think about Honkai Star Rail, why does he use like coins and chips, poker chips to like damage enemies? Does that make any sense in Honkai Star Rail? Like Aventurine uses poker chips and like dumps coins on people. Like, where do those things come from, right? So it's like nitpicking. Like, you can nitpick parts of the game and say, well, this doesn't make sense lore-wise. I mean, how does it make sense for Aventurine? He's just a guy that... And honestly, at a point, it's like, come on, guys, it's just a video game, right? That, to me, that's at least what I think about it, right? I don't think it's that out of place. I mean, the whole Jalonen thing, it kind of fits with like the vibe of Children of Echoes, like the graffiti dance vibe, breakdancing type thing. That's kind of like her thing, right? And the vibe, the tribe is kind of like this, aesthetically. So Mavuika having a motorbike, I don't know. Where does she get it from? Maybe a little bit of explanation in the lore. But also, Chaska has a giant flying gun too, which doesn't really make sense. But I don't know. Does it bother me that much? Not really. I think people like, yeah. Alice, there was some. Yeah, I was reading something on Twitter. Farka was talking about Alice I didn't read the whole thing, but someone mentioned that. Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll see. Maybe the next summer event we'll see Alice, because it's coming to that point now. We got to see her. Alice is from the outside world. She brought the concept of idols and other modern stuff, other modern shit. So she's from the real world, like our world, outside world. Is that what you're saying? Because like her whole thing is like Alice in Wonderland, right? So I'm guessing Teyvat is Wonderland, but so Alice is from outside. I mean, the theory that I think is that Teyvat is a world that was lost in the Sea of Quanta, and because it all has to connect back to the Hoyoverse, right? And Honkai 3rd, the lore there was that there's different multiverses and different worlds, and or whatever that there's the Sea of Quanta, and Teyvat, like outside Teyvat is like, basically that's why it's like destroyed and it's like in the abyss or whatever, because that's just what they call it. But so Alice is from outside the abyss or whatever. Is that what people are thinking? I don't know. But that would make her a descender, wouldn't it? And I don't think she's one of the descenders. So, because we know the 3rd descender, we know the 4th, and we know the 1st or the 2nd. I don't know. I think we know all the descenders. We know the 3rd is dead. But anyways, yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. I'm guessing we're gonna see Alice pretty soon. We're gonna see Alice like maybe hopefully this summer event, because she's always involved with the summer event in one way or another, right? It's either Klee or Alice or her or the Hexen Circle. So yeah. But yeah, like the motorcycle thing, anyways, it doesn't really bother me. I don't know. I think a lot of people... Anyways, to go back to my content and like the drama stuff, I think a lot of people started watching my videos because I did talk about... I was saying things that most people wouldn't say about Wuthering Waves. And I would... You know, I would say things like, hey, Genshin isn't as bad as people are saying it is. And so, you know, a lot of people, they watched me because of that, right? And they watched the videos because at least I think I was making some reasonable takes, especially with some of the Wuthering Waves criticism I was laying out there. But ultimately, when I opened the Discord, that's what it fostered. That's basically what it was. And so I don't know what I'm going to do, because I think I should just keep doing what I was doing, because it seemed to be, it's what I wanted to do, and I don't really think, you know, I mean, that's what I really feel about Wuthering Waves, right? So I might as well just do what I want, right? You watch me because I speak normally. Well, I gotta get used to speaking because my throat is freaking dry. So let me take a drink of water here. But yeah, well, I appreciate you guys watching. I kind of want to be honest though. I do like ruffling some feathers here and there, especially when I think. I mean, and I like joking around and stuff too, right? Like I don't think you have to be serious all the time, right? So, But shit.
Let's light it up. Let's fly.
Also,
Open fire.
this spot, I want to show you guys. I don't know if you went to this spot yet. The music here is awesome. The music here, I love the music here. Wish I could turn it up, but it'd be loud on stream. But like the whole visual design of this too, it's like I don't really get this from Wuthering Waves, like honestly. But yeah, I mean, also Auroron's he's kind of good. Like he just has, you can do this permanently, even in outside of Nap. He just has a infinite jump. You just need stamina. That's all it takes is stamina. Well, it takes stamina outside of Nap. Yeah, I really like this this song here. I have to enter. I was doing the quest. I'm not even done Chaska's quest. Oh yeah, I have to do I'm gonna finish the Flower Feather Clan first. And then I'll work on what's it called? And then I'll work on the Masters of the Nightwind, but I want to get these Pyro wings, man. Like finally we get some red wings. Well, I didn't get the McDonald's collab thing, but alright, Hydro. Cryo. Alright, that's fine. And just deliver this. Yeah, so I'll finish up. Oh, I don't want to use this. Well. Okay. Where did I get? Huh? I'm a red dot. I don't like red dots, man. I'll do this event thing later. But yeah, like even this area too. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. Like, I don't get this when I play Wuthering Waves. Like these kind of areas,
Time to go.
I don't really get this, and this is what I like. Right? I like areas that feel very unique and distinct, and you know, it's got the Wild West music type vibe, but also, you know, it's just unique and different from the rest of Nap, right? And yeah, and when I run around Wuthering Waves, it feels like I'm. I was telling someone on Discord the other day. I was telling them Wuthering Waves feels like the destination, and playing Genshin feels like the journey, right? And they said that to me. They said that to me earlier, like a while ago when I first joined the Discord, and then I kind of I agree with that. Basically, it's like whenever I play Wuthering Waves, it feels like I'm just trying to get to an objective, right? And I'm trying to accomplish a goal, and I'm trying to do it as quickly as possible, right? But with Genshin, it's like when I'm playing the game and I explore a new area, I'm actually exploring, and I'm like discovering things as I go. And you could say, well, that kind of sounds kind of cheesy, and it's not really true but it all depends on how you play the game. And I feel like that's. But for me, when I play Wuthering Waves, it's just like, what's the next thing I have to accomplish? You know, what do I have to do next? You know, I gotta echo farm. I gotta grind this, and I'll run up the wall really quick because, you know, I gotta get to where I gotta go. And anyways, how did I die there? He just shot me? The hell? But yeah, me read chat here. Let me scroll up and read chat a little bit. There was an ancient dragon civilization, and they were highly advanced. They have made some remnants, or they have some remnants there. Plus, there's a primal energy in Natlan that makes it possible. Yeah, like Kahula is like he's like a holographic projection of. That's not really him, but that's why he looks like a pixelated character. So I'm guessing the previous dragon civilization
Move forward with blind ambition.
made them. It's like I guess they have that kind of technology, right? Anyways, Jelonin is the one crafting, creating all these things. Also, not everyone can use the energy, so it's limited. Pyro Archon surely has the means, power to do so. We don't know anything about the bike yet. Like where it came from. We've heard that Snezhnaya is apparently even more, because a lot of people thought Fontaine was supposed to be technologically advanced, but apparently Snezhnaya is even more so, right? So we'll see. Maybe it came from, because they make all the dolls, right? The Catherines and what's her Sandrone obviously makes like dolls and like automatons, lifelike automatons and stuff. So that's where they all come from Snezhnaya. The problem is probably that people liked Fontaine very much, and it was hard for them to get used to Natlan. From what I see, they're becoming more and more fond of it. I mean, I'm going to be honest. For me, Fontaine, I didn't like it as much as I do Natlan. Like, especially at the start. Like, when I liked it when I first entered Fontaine. I just felt like the land and the open areas in Fontaine were kind of like, they were a little bit bland. They're not as distinct they weren't as distinct as Sumeru, because that's all the comparison I had, right? We didn't know exactly what Natlan was going to be like until we saw it. But so this compared to Sumeru, I definitely like Sumeru more, like, than Fontaine. Like, the open world is kind of like Swiss Alps and stuff, which I like it. I don't think it's that. Look, it's not as bland as Wuthering Waves to me at least, anyway. But, Fontaine is basically like the Alps, or the French Alps, Swiss Alps, I don't know. And of course, there's a lot of water, and the swimming was cool. But it was a little bit somber. Like, the music is like, it's kind of relaxing and stuff like that, and it's fine. But for me, when I first went into Natlan, I'm like, yeah, this is what I want. Like, I want like really distinct looking land, and it's just more vibrant, and I like Natlan more. And like with the dinosaurs and the and obviously the new traversal and stuff like that. You don't need all the characters for it, but it's just easier to have the characters, or easier to get around if you have the characters. But they still give you the dinosaurs and whatnot. But yeah, for me personally, I prefer Natlan, especially the music too. And anyways, but a lot of people did like Fontaine. I don't know. Like, they're saying the character designs in Fontaine are better. They're good, but that's okay. Look, I'm going to talk about something meta. I think comparing everything all the time is kind of gets boring, because ultimately, of course, Natlan is going to look different, and I appreciate that it looks different. That's what I think a lot of people don't understand is like comparing the stories. No, I would rather they make a different type of story, and that's what they did with Natlan. Because Fontaine was like this prophecy thing, right? And it's like, you're in the court cases and stuff like that, and you're in the,
Any
like,
comments around?
you're doing this legal battle thing, and it's different, um, than like Leeway or Inazuma, but and I just appreciate that it's different, and Natlin is more like, now we're getting into like the deep lore of Tevat, and we're getting into, the ley lines and the abyss, and they're not really, it's not really a prophecy they're hiding. It's not like this mystery novel you're trying to unravel. Like, is the prophecy going to come true or whatever? But anyways, so yeah, I like that it's different, and I think a lot of people don't understand that, or they try and rail against it. But yeah, anyways. But this is explained. Natlin is located on the ruins of the most advanced civilization in Tevat, so that's why their stuff looks advanced. That's true too. With the dragon civilization, Fontaine makes sense to me. It's more steampunk than techie, kind of like Arcane. Yeah, I guess a little bit. Also, Arcane was awesome. Narratively, I really liked it too. Like Arcane, that's the type of show I like, because I wanted to say something about anime as well. Like Arcane it has like it's animation, but it's not anime, right? And the story, sometimes there's like, the characters kind of act like superheroes a little bit, sometimes, but the story itself in Arcane is motivated by the characters and their actions, right? And it's so much motivated by the characters and their actions that, it's just, that's because that's how stories are, right? And I really don't like it with anime sometimes, and especially with like, the Wuthering Waves story and the I'll say it. It's more the Honkai Star Rail story. The Honkai Star Rail story, sometimes it's like, or at least when I played, I think Elio ruined that story, because like him writing the script just kind of stripped characters of their own agency. And I think Genshin hasn't gone there yet. It's mostly, yes, there's like an evil force, which is the Abyss and stuff like that, but for the most part, all these events are being shaped by characters and their motivations. Even the prophecy was, because if you dig deeper into the prophecy of Fontaine, it was Sertology and Vidofnir. My theory is that they, like Sertology was controlling the whale, right? And Vidofnir wrote the prophecy. So essentially, I think it was just a plan by them to... Wait, I didn't notice this before. Was that always there? Anyways. I think it was a plan by them. So what I'm saying was, with Genshin, I like stories that are motivated by character agency. And Arcane was a perfect example of that. Arcane, I watched the last season there. I finished the episodes a while ago. And yeah, it's just, that's what I like about Genshin, is that I feel like the stories in Genshin are mostly motivated by character agency and their pursuits, and yeah, which is good storytelling. And it's done well. It's not just that, it's also done well. And characters are usually believable, that like they'll act a certain way because of how their personality is. So anyways, the problems with like Inazuma is that the story was completely rushed, and stuff like Teppei dying in like 5 minutes, going from like being healthy to dying in like 5 minutes, was really bad. So anyways, about Alice. But it is true that those witches have greater power over Tevat. Alice and Varka. Her gameplay looks sick anyway. Did you see the Ryuke Sensei HSR hate video. Yeah, I saw a little bit of it. I didn't watch a lot, but I saw Fob was watching the Ryuke Sensei video where he rails on Honkai Star Rail. You know what? We could watch it, maybe a little bit of it, because I kind of like disagreed. I half agreed and half disagreed. Obviously, he's using that. He's very eccentric about saying it, but isn't he like a big Wuthering Waves guy? Like, which is kind of a mistake. This Honkai Star Rail and Wuthering Waves players are kind of in bed together, aren't they? Like, that's the one game from Hoyoverse you're allowed to play and not get criticized for if you play Wuthering Waves. Like, if you play Honkai Star Rail and Wuthering Waves, it's like you're safe. But if you play Genshin, no, you're bad. No, you can't do that, right? Anyways, outside Natlin,
When you lose your way,
he is quite
gaining
weak.
some altitude can bring some perspective.
Quiet, Chaska. Okay, but outside Natlin, he is quite weak, but still useful. Harmonica does the job here. Yeah, Genshin does a very good job on the environment, something Wuwa still lacks. I think Wuthering Waves lacks it so much that it just feels like they jumble stock animation or stock what is it called? Like the generic stuff. They're good at using the generic stuff in Wuthering Waves, but it just looks kind of forced and out of place a lot, right? And you know, it's honestly hard to do something like this, to make a world like this in a game like Genshin does. So the world and art designers they have in Genshin, they're not they're some of the best. Like, it's hard to do something like this, right? So that's what takes a lot of development time in Genshin, honestly, is designing the maps and stuff like that. So anyways,
Time to go.
let me see. I'm gonna read more of chat. Wuthering Waves world is extremely bland. I'd argue the best part of it is the fact that it looks good visually as a modern Unreal Engine game, even then it's so uninspired. Hey Cappuccino, what's up? We're just we're just talking a little bit about the Discord stuff that happened and like what I'm gonna do for the future of my channel and stuff like that, or content or whatever, streams like that. Catherine is a doll after all. Yeah, the Senjinaya makes all the automatons. From what I saw, people really like what they see of Insidia so far. So the main difference is that it's more colorful. It would be extremely hypocritical if certain people keep up with the colorful kids game. Dark and dull is for mature adults. Yeah, that's the. I never really bought into that, right? Because this can be kind of a older person moment. I'm not that old, but I grew up with video games, and they were all colorful. Really, like that's a video game thing, right? So yes, later on in like the early 2000s and stuff like that, when game fidelity kicked up with better hardware, so then you could make more realistic looking environments and stuff. So then game devs didn't have to make the cartoony stuff, because like if you look at old games, like go take a look at the first Half-Life game, right? Because they didn't have the fidelity to make it's realistic, but it looks terrible because they didn't have the proper technology to make a realistic looking game, right? So Half-Life, it's like blocky characters and stuff like that. So anyways, yes, they started making more realistic looking games as time went on and hardware increased. But when I grew up, I was playing, that's why Nintendo was so big, is because they made these game worlds that were like artistically designed and inspired, but they could still work within the confines of the lower technology, right? So that's why Super Mario was like this cartoony um, Italian plumber guy, right? It's not realistic looking at all. Is because that's just how he developed as the time went on, right? Because so is it for kids? Video games have always been for kids. If you say that, right? It's like video games have always been entertainment for kids, but obviously nowadays that's not really the case because as time moved on, it's just like movies and stuff. You can have how to say this. Okay, yes, there are adult movies. Yes, there's kids movies, but just because something is colorful doesn't mean it's automatically associated with kids, right? Because the subject matter of Genshin, it's the stories and stuff, they're too complicated narratively to be for kids. Okay, but now we're talking about like blood and gore and stuff like that. Well, China doesn't do that, right? China just doesn't do that. It doesn't matter if it's Genshin or any other type of game. You can't show blood and gore in China. It's a Chinese game, and these are Chinese developers, right? So, like, their rating system is really strict. You can't even show skeletons. Like, skeletons is a big no-no in China, right? So that's another factor, right? Like, okay, dark and mature, right? Like when you look at a show like Arcane, let's talk about Arcane. Very colorful show. It's all like, Jinx is like a clown. Pink and purple and like light blues and neon, and like the artistic design of Arcane as a show, super colorful in certain areas. But the show is for adults. It's an adult show, right? Now I'm not saying Genshin is like this serious, mature game because it's not like fully, but at the same time, it's like not specifically made for kids. It's made for like young adults and older people, right? Because the writers behind it, they're kind of like boomers. Anyways. Let me read. Hold on. By the way, Snezhnaya was the first nation that showcased guns since the very start. So it always was considered as more technologically advanced. Yeah, the Pyro Fatui guys had guns. And they were in since the start of the game. Discord drama situation is crazy. Yeah, well. I mean, like, oh man, I guess what upset me most about the Discord drama was a couple people there, they tried to they were like my friend, or they were trying to be friendly with me, and I was like, okay, we'll just mess around. And then later on, they're like, oh, well, you know what? Maybe you should do this. And then I was telling that one guy, you can't stop saying, you can't keep hinting at the N word, man. Like, because that's going to get me banned, and I don't want to see that, right? So he was doing like these racist jokes, and like it was just like, how do I moderate this? Anyways, Genshin tells the story through characters, and Wuthering Waves tells it through the main character. I hope you understand what I mean. Yeah, that's another thing about Wuthering Waves I don't like is a lot of people don't like that, is the rover is like the center of the universe, right? And yes, with Genshin, you are Aether or Lumine, right? But the story doesn't always revolve around you. Where it revolves around you in the Daneslave quest, which it should, and those are some of the best quests, Daneslave quests, because, that's really about the Abyss, and it's about your sibling, right? So, but when it comes to like the nation that you're going to, it's not really the center, right? You're not the center of the universe in the nation. You're there to help, which is good, as you should, you don't really get a choice in being a virtuous character, and Aether is just a virtuous character. So so it's not like there's not much role play, but at the same time, yeah, the rover thing is just I don't know. It's what do I gotta do here? I gotta make purple, right? Oh, this is blue. This one's red. Shit, whoops. This one's red. And then I make this. So yeah, and like in Wuthering Waves, there's so much
Off we go.
rover pandering where it's just kind of getting lame. So yeah. Oh, hey, what's going on? I already put red on there, so it should work, right? Huh? Or do I have to extract them both at the same time? Extract red and extract blue? Oh, okay. I thought... Anyways.
Even better than I imagined. It's my luck.
But yeah.
Light it up.
Like... I wonder what they're gonna do, man. Are we gonna go to... There's one thing I want Genshin to do, is... I want them to fill out the edges of the map. Like, this stuff, like... I don't know. And then maybe, like, have, like, some kind of, like, water expansion. Where... You know... They... Maybe, like, ship travel or something, like boats and I don't know, like a mini game with like boats and stuff. They could like fill up the map and the water around the whole map. I heard Snezhnaya is over here. I think Snezhnaya is like over here, I heard. And then it's like up and around. I don't even know. But yeah, so let me read the chat. About the colorful games, I remember when the first Mirror's Edge was highly praised because it was the most colorful among the other monotone brown games that released at the time, like gray and dark and gritty. I remember that era too, where like there was just so many. That was around the time when, because you know who set that trend? It was Christopher Nolan movies. Especially the Batman stuff, right? Where, like, literally the only colorful character in the entire Batman trilogy was the Joker, and everything else in the Dark Knight trilogy was just like dark, gritty, and people loved it. But also, it started a trend, like movies and games around that era were like, okay, we love this trend, so everything's gonna be like dark and gritty and gray, and like, you know, and you know, it's gonna be the next. Or they're just really inspired by the Dark Knight trilogy thing, so which I don't really get because, sorry, my throat's getting dry. I'm not used to. I haven't streamed in a while, so which I don't get, because if you look at World of Warcraft, like World of Warcraft is a really colorful game. One of the most popular games of all time during its release. Actually, could be argued to be the beginning of a new gaming era was World of Warcraft, and super colorful game. It kind of reminds me of Genshin, honestly, except for it's not anime; it's a different style. Right? So, alright. Kill this guy. Oh, another thing about Wuthering Waves I don't like, since we're on the topic, is there's so many characters that are just twirly whirly. Like their whole kit is like spinning around and being twirly, like you know what I mean? Like they're I don't know how to explain it, but like Jin Shi, Chang Li, Jian, and now Camellia, and it's like they're all like ballerina dancers, and it's like it kind of gets boring after a while. Um, just look at Soul. It looks like a kids movie, but its story and meaning is very mature. After all, Genshin Impact touches on quite deep topics. In 5.2, they touched upon the topic of PTSD. I haven't done all the quests, but I did do the main Archon quest. I haven't done the Chaska. What's it called yet? I'm halfway through it. But yeah, they did in the Archon quest. They touched upon well as mental problems, like it was mental issues. They had literally the NPCs were called mentally ill person, which I thought would trigger people, because they don't like talking about that stuff. Anyways, the color immature for kids narrative is the same thing as cartoons are only for kids, which is really funny when you bring up stuff like Invincible and Elfen Lied. What is that? Is that an anime? I'm waiting for a field of dandelions. Well, look, Genshin story, it's not extremely mature, but
Farewell.
the narrative is too complicated for a kid to follow. Like especially with the words they use, it's like this isn't like a baby's game, right? And the thing with Paimon, I don't know, it's just like an anime thing, right? Like, because Paimon, like, they like cutesy things in anime, so that's why they made Paimon, right? Like, Paimon's this cute little fine creature, even though the West thinks that Paimon's extremely annoying and the devil. But, I'm sure Japanese people like Paimon, or, some people. Anyways, what I'm saying is, like, anime just has, like, cutesy things in it. That's just, like, a thing, right? It doesn't mean it's a kid's thing a kid's game because it has a cute character in it, especially anime. That's just my observation from dealing with anime over the years. You know what I mean? It's like kind of a thing in anime. But yeah. Anyways, what else I have to do? There's another bounty over here. Where is it? But yeah, like I was thinking, for my content, I kind of, yeah, it was a little bit demotivating when that happens. Because it was kind of like we were joking around and having fun, and then it got really serious with the whole Discord drama thing. But anyways, so with the content going forward, I don't know. I'm just gonna make, ultimately, I'm just gonna make the content I think I want to make, and if people don't like it, then there's nothing I can do about that, right? Like, I just don't want them in the Discord telling me that every day that they don't like content I make. So, yeah. Honestly, Chas is kind of OP. Like, look, she can't even touch me. I'm still attacking her. Chas is kind of overpowered, bro. Okay, we got rank 3. I think I get some kind of recipe or something. I don't know. Yeah, guys, I'm not going to stream for that long, but yeah. What is Field of Dandelions, by the way? Is that like a show? Rewards. Oh, I got furnishing. Yay. Alright. I want these pyro wings, bro. Where are they? I'm on the second quest, the tribal quest. But I get, let's see, there's 200 rep here. Plus, okay. So, and the max is rank 4 for rewards. Yeah, so I don't have to do this anymore or hand in, what's it called? Because I can just finish the quests and that'll get me max rank on Flower Feather Clan. So then I can focus on Masters of the Nightwind. But yeah, so I don't know. I still like Genshin. I think people think that's crazy nowadays. It's like, so, you know, maybe we'll watch that video actually. Watch that video of, where is it?
I'd have
What's his
lost
name?
myself
Ryuka
long
Sensei?
ago if I allowed myself to be led by the whispers of the abyss. Surviving is tough.
Ryuku Sensei.
Taming the beast within is tougher.
Honkai Star Rail is the worst game I've ever played. Here's why. 20 minutes.
I can't.
That's probably way too loud for stream. Alright. Alright, so yeah, I'm not gonna play Genshin that much longer. I just wanted to get on and, like, you know, have some background thing to play while I talk about the Discord stuff. All in all, about the Discord stuff, kind of demotivating. It was frustrating because I thought those people were my friends, and they were like, you know, the one guy called me. One guy said I'm gonna be like Tectone, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what to say to that, right? Like, he's like, you're gonna make an echo chamber like Tectone, and I'm like, geez, I really don't know what to think about that. So, I mean, if that's what you think about me, then maybe we shouldn't be friends, I guess, because it's like, yeah. Anyways, okay, we're going to watch the video, and then that's it. I'm not gonna stream after that. It's gonna be a short stream today, I guess. But we'll see what he says. I watched a little bit of it. I didn't watch the whole thing because I think Fob was watching it or something, and I was like, I was there with. I didn't watch the whole thing anyway, so. All right, let's see what he has to say. I kind of like half agree. I don't think it's the worst game ever, but I was agreeing with some of the things he was saying about the story and the pacing of the story and how it was presented. Well, yeah. Anyways, okay, here we go.
I just can't anymore. I feel
By the way, tell me if it's too loud on stream. It might be,
like I'm going insane hearing this all the damn time.
or if it's not loud enough, the YouTube video.
Honkai Star Rail is amazing. Not like that shit Genshin. Penacony, more like Pikakony. Am I right? No.
Yeah,
You're not wrong.
Pikakony.
In fact, you are absolutely wrong. Now, hear me when I say this, and I'm speaking to you. Yes, you. Specifically you. Honkai Star... This gets closer. Honkai Star Rail fucking sucks. And I can prove it with numbers.
Yes, science!
Now, let me explain. First of all, do you even play Honkai Star Rail?
Okay.
Yes. Kinda. I mean, I log in, stare at Himiko, do my dailies, stare at Kafka, do the simulated universe each week, stare at Hanya, and have
Well, I quit. Just for a disclaimer, I quit, so I don't. Anyways,
slowly been building up my characters. I started back around mid-March after watching the 2.1 live stream about all the new rewards after the anniversary. Hashtag Genshin could still...
okay. So I played Honkai Star Rail on release. So 1.0, 1.1 was a really bad patch, by the way, really bad.
never, and I wanted
Okay.
to quickly grind
Course,
through
gotta
all the content from
jab
1.0
Genshin
all
here.
the way through to 2.1 to get Acheron, because I'm a disgusting little simp that wants her to step on my I got Sparkle, Dr. Ratio was in my inbox, as well as all the free pulls. The introduction to the game was really fun and engaging. I enjoyed playing through the Herta space station and pretty much everything on Belobog, especially Cocolia. Huh? I thought you said Honkai Star Rail sucked.
So I do think that Belobog was decent. I think Belobog was a good direction for the game. I thought it was going in a good direction. But then after Belobog, it just started going downhill for me. And I think everyone agrees that the Laofu is not great, but I thought Penacony was going to steer the ship back in the right direction. But for me, Penacony made the game even worse. It's one of the worst anime stories that I've experienced in gaming for me.
You're glazing it harder than a Krispy Kreme donut right now. When are you gonna... Yeah. I'm gonna get to that. Shut the fuck up. It had good design, action,
Wait.
pacing. The story was...
I think I know what's wrong. My chat is... let me just fix my chat on screen. I think it's messed up. Yeah, here we go. My chat was messed up. Sorry about that. VA Paimon did a good job in 5.1. Yeah, Paimon, even though people find Paimon's voice annoying, she does a really, really good job, actually. You know, and she has... The VA has their opinions, political opinions or whatever. Some of them I don't agree with, but Paimon's voice actor does a good job. Like they have a lot of personality and they do a really good job. In my opinion, I think Paimon, but Paimon, people just don't like Paimon because of the squeaky, high-pitched voice. For some reason, it's okay in Japanese, but it's not good when it's English. But they're both still squeaky, high-pitched. But anyways, Dandelion Sea. Oh, okay. Yeah, Elfen Lied is a pretty old anime. That Aranara mention was funny. Tectone didn't like it. What Aranara mention? Tectone didn't like. Coming from Wuwa CC. From a Wuwa CC is peak comedy. Yeah, it's weird how he criticizes the story in Honkai Star Rail when I think Wuthering Waves story is just as bad, but it's bad in a different way. So I have a problem with Shaoji as a writer. Yeah, okay. Alright. We'll continue on with the video. My chat is fixed now.
Wasn't too simple, but still easy to follow. There was a good balance of puzzles, battles, and story all woven together well to make the storytelling experience really enjoyable with a fantastic soundtrack and an amazing finale with the Cocolia fight. And then we get to Zhuangzhou Luofu. No one really likes that area. Just wait until you get to Penacony.
Okay. So is he going to
Zhuangzhou
say...
Luofu wasn't the worst. Definitely a step down from the massive high
No.
up after the end of Belobog, but
He's right here. Laofu isn't the worst, actually. I think it's Penacony, but
on the
anyways.
whole, I don't actually mind Zhuangzhou Luofu. It was an interesting world with a completely different vibe. The music was good, the puzzles were fun and interesting, and we got new lore. The thing that really dragged it down, in my opinion, was the unnecessary jargon for relatively simple concepts.
I'm here to witness the divination of the Matrix of Prescience.
You're here to read her mind and get some information out of her. I'm here to witness the divination of the Matrix of Prescience. Just spit.
Okay, this criticism I disagree with. Why do I disagree with it? Well, I play Final Fantasy XIV, and if you want to have a certain type of dialogue in the game, and you want characters to speak a certain way, this guy would flip the fuck out at Final Fantasy XIV dialogue. Like, he would go crazy because they're speaking in Old English. They're using like words that you've never even heard of before, but they're actual words. They're just not used anymore. They're like Old English words, but that's just how the characters speak, right? I disagree with this point. I think this is a dumb point. Like, I don't care how characters speak as long as they make sense when they're speaking, right? They have to make sense, and also if they're going on and rambling about random stuff that is pointless, yeah, that. But anyways, Anyways,
Speak
let's.
fucking English, goddammit. But whatever, like I said,
Okay, it is English, but anyways.
putting aside the random jargon and exposition,
I believe we are dealing with the so-called disciples of Sanctus Medicus. The Cienjo has the blessing of the Rainbow Arbiter and the Ambrosial Arbor's dove.
The ambrosial arbor was felled thousands of years ago.
So what he's talking about here is there's a lot of what proper nouns. So yeah, like this kind of stuff, you kind of have to avoid it a lot. Like it's a little bit too much. It can get too much sometimes in dialogue, but
it wasn't the worst area I've ever been to. Oh no, that crown undeniably goes to Penacony. Okay, come here.
yeah, I think Penacony is actually
A little
worse.
more, closer. Fuck Penacony. I have never had
Okay.
a worse gaming experience in my life. And I've been playing games since I could hold a controller. I can remember playing Sonic the Hedgehog on the original Sega Mega Drive back when I was about 3 or 4 years old. I didn't get far. I was a kid. I just like seeing the spinny ball go zoom. Anyway, my point is I've been playing games for a long ass time. And never in my 35 years on this planet have I raged at just how mind-numbingly boring Penacony is. And yes, I am including that Aranara quest
Oh,
from Genshin. Still not as bad as Penacony. Billabug was good.
so he doesn't think the Aranara quest is as bad as Penacony? Yeah, I don't. The Aranara quest, I think was actually okay. see, that's what's funny is because, like I said, the Aranara, they speak really fucked up, and it's hard to understand, but it makes sense within the context of the story because they're like these weird little creatures, and they don't really know how to speak properly, and so the Aranara, they speak weird, and it's kind of hard to, it's like annoying to read, but eventually you kind of get used to their manner of speaking, and so it kind of makes sense. But the overall quest of the Aranara, it's way longer. It's like one of the longest quests in any Hoyo game, I'm pretty sure. Like singular patch quest was the Aranara quest. And I thought it was pretty good. Especially the thing with Rana at the end there, and and the adventure that you go on with the Aranara. It's pretty fun. I mean, it's a lot of people don't like it, but I can understand why.
Jonjo Lofu wasn't bad, but then it just dives off a cliff with Penacony. The biggest problem with Penacony is that it's just not fun, like at all. You literally cannot do a single thing for the first hour and a half where you get to that one battle which takes about a minute to clear.
I think the Firefly thing was really forced, but that's just an outsider perception where you kind of know, you can kind of tell that they want you to have a girlfriend, or like it just felt a bit forced. It felt kind of like the Wuthering Waves Camellia thing. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Or it kind of felt like glazing, but just with one character. But anyways,
and after that, you're right back to yapping for another 48 minutes with.
I know a lot of
nothing
people
to
probably
do
disagree
but
with
run around
me.
with Firefly doing real important stuff like roulette, ice cream, and bubble pinball. I guess.
Yeah, it's a date.
Got another battle. That's another 1 minute of
It's a date. You're going on a date with Firefly on purpose.
something, I guess, against a fucking trash can. I actually timed how much turn-based action RPG we got in this turn-based action RPG game. So 2.0 takes about 5.5 hours to complete, right? Keep in mind this is about the same amount of time it took for us to complete the entirety of Belobog.
So he brings up a topic here where there's not enough gameplay in between the story, but that wouldn't be a problem if the story is interesting. And if the story is interesting enough, then you don't really have to have gameplay. It would be nice. It's better to have more gameplay, and especially gameplay that helps the narrative. So, like you can tell the story through gameplay, which is a very good example of telling the story through gameplay is Nier Automata. Like Nier Automata really does that. Like the game itself tells the story as you're playing it. And yes, there are sections where you like watch a cutscene or whatever, or like listen to someone speak to you on the pod thing or whatever. But Nier Automata, the storytelling of the game opens up as you play it. So, but his criticism here is that there's not enough gameplay segments, and I think that wouldn't be an issue if the story itself can stand on its own. So I don't think that's an issue. for me, it was an issue because the story is not interesting or fun to play. But anyways,
And this is just the introduction to Penacony. So yeah, 5.5 hours, and of that you spend a grand total of 9 minutes, 24 seconds actually doing that. I did the math.
Yeah.
That is literally 2.85% of the time doing the thing you came to this game to do. Oh, so it's not good if you're not constantly fighting? Is that what you're trying to say? No, not at all. I don't need it to be 100% fighting all the time. Hell, I don't even need it to
Sorry, I
be
was
50%.
sorry.
But less than 3% is not nearly enough. I didn't hate everything though. There's the
I was tapping my mic a little bit there.
interactive section with Firefly, that was alright. Took about 15 minutes though. Then there's the time that we're in the Dreamscape. This is the only area in Penacony that I actually enjoyed. This is what we were promised in the beginning with that whole scene with Akron. And when we were there, I immediately felt a major shift in tone and storytelling that was completely absent so far. Okay. Right, I'm guessing this is where the story gets good. At least I'm hoping. Too bad we were only there for about 45 minutes, max. Most of the time, you can't really do anything but go to the next dialogue location.
So this is what Honkai Star Rail does. I think they actually are more guilty of it than Genshin Impact, where, like, at least in Genshin, there's a little bit of dynamic camera. It's not always the same angle. But yeah, it does have a lot of sit down and we're just talking, right? And I think that's fine as long as what they're saying and doing, what they're talking about is interesting. But for me, it wasn't. But
And sit around watching people yap. How much yap, you ask? Again, I timed it. 3 hours, 49 minutes, and 36
was long.
fucking agonizing seconds of yap. Out of 5 hours and 17 minutes of story, might I remind you. And at the end, the big twist, the big reveal is that Robin is dead.
I know.
Oh, you mean the girl that only had
well, there's spoilers for Honkai Star Rail, I guess.
3 minutes and 43 seconds of screen time this entire quest? That girl? We were supposed to care that she died? Her own song has a longer lifespan than she does. Seriously, why was I supposed to care? Then on to 2.1 when we continue on with Trailblazer's story. Right? Wrong. Oh, this.
So this is where I start to agree with him. The adventuring thing, not good, man. Like, I did not think it was good. The adventuring story, yeah, we'll see what he has to say about it.
This fucking quest, oh my god. It pissed me off so much I was about ready to punch through my desk. I thought 2.0 was bad, but I had absolutely no idea about the mind-numbing torture I was about to get myself through.
And like someone said in chat, I want to preface this. This guy, as a Wuthering Waves player, I really hope he criticizes Wuthering Waves story as well with this, but you know, because anyways.
Back on it, I would rather French kiss a Dementor than go through all this again. The quest is just less than 6 hours long, and 4.5 hours of that is nothing but pure fucking yap. Shut up. Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
Okay, like I said, it's what they're yapping about that is the problem.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck.
Okay, he's
There was a
gonna
total
look
of about
rails
24
here.
minutes worth of fighting. 13.5 minutes of those weren't necessary to the story at all. 45 seconds were necessary to the story. And the last 11 minutes were the fight against Aventurine. You spent more time staring at static images listening to people talk about deep politics and very important theological stuff you have no idea about. What do you mean? It made sense. I followed it. Were you even paying attention to the story? Yes, I was, actually. I didn't skip a single line of dialogue. I was a good little boy and I took it all in. And all this stuff that went on about in Penacony made literally no fucking sense.
I also paid attention. A lot of people, when I made the Honkai Star Rail video about why I'm uninstalling the game, and I had criticisms about the story, a lot of people accused me of not playing through the story or not paying attention. But I literally paid attention. I connected the dots, tried to at least for most of what was happening, and I paid attention to most of it, but it still was not compelling to me at all. It was not compelling in the slightest. It was actually off-putting, but anyways, let's see
A
what...
new player, that is. Here's the thing. A lot of the stuff being talked about in Penacony, you have to play through the simulated universe several dozen times. You have to have gone through all the different encounters and read through all the dialogue trees there are to understand what was going on. Can I get some peace and quiet today? Holy shit. All this stuff about the hunt this, harmony that, nihility, emanators, jipe, etc., etc. All of that was hardly even mentioned.
Okay, so you don't have to play through the simulated universe because it's kind of hinted at you in other parts of the game that, you know, there are, what are they called? Aeons. And, you know, you kind of get an idea already if you're just kind of looking right? Where the thing with Genshin though is it sets like they tell you about it early on, like Venti's whole discussion tells you about vision holders, Venti's discussion under the tree in Mondstadt. You know, it tells you about he tells you about the allogenes, which are in Japanese, that's Genshin. So you know, and then he tells you about, you learn about Archons slowly, and you should travel to other nations and find out more, where to find your sibling. And then as the story progresses in Genshin, it reveals all these things to you. You don't have to look to outside sources in Genshin. You can, but I'll give an example. When Wriothesley brings up Remuria for the first time, it could be considered to be like an ass pull lore-wise, but it's not really, because it's always been there. And if you dig deep enough beforehand, you can find out what Remuria is. But he even explains it to you that it was the ancient civilization in Fontaine before the current, what is it called? The current, you know what I mean? Like the current civilization. So, but with Honkai Star Rail, it's like they don't really explain to you. You kind of learn that you have to stop Nanook. In Lao Fu, Kafka tells you that you're destined to confront Nanook, the destruction. So they kind of explain to you. So I disagree with him here a little bit, because they tell you what Aeons are, like the idea of them. And you can already kind of guess that, the harmony, well, they value harmony, and you can already kind of understand what that is. So
let alone explained
anyways,
in the main story, like at all. And maybe I'm a little bit naive for thinking this, but I think if something is going to be talked about in the story, it should be properly introduced and explained in the story. Wild concept, I know. Also, another hot take here, but I thought the main story quest was supposed.
But it was like Kafka explained that there are Aeons. She talked about Tazaranth, and then she talked about the Order, didn't she? And how Shipe overtook the Order. So she did talk about that in the story. It just wasn't in Penacony. So I kind of disagree with what he's trying to say here. But anyways,
to, follow the main character. The majority of 2.1 was from the perspective of someone that I could literally not give two flying fucks about. Aventurine. Oh my god. In 2.0, he was on stream for a total of, say, 30 minutes. Most of the time, he was being a dick. And in 2.1, you're supposed to spend most of the time in his point of view, following his story, talking about things that we don't know, doing things we don't care about, talking to NPCs we're going to forget about. Why was this in the main story quest?
Let me read the chat here. But, yeah, my chat keeps breaking. Like, it just keeps... You're not allowed to play... You're not allowed to criticize HSR if you play Woo. God knows. That's not what I was saying. But again, this shit coming from WooCC is peak. Don't get me started on its dialogue. Yeah, Wuthering Waves, there's a lot of issues with Wuthering Waves too. It's way worse than Genshin, yet people say Genshin's the same or worse. Yeah. Apparently he's making a video critical of Wuthering Waves. Oh, okay. Did he criticize Wu's story on the same manner? If not, people have the right to point out hypocrisy. He criticizes Wu's story basically every other stream. You can like one game and still criticize aspects of it? Okay. Well, I don't watch this guy that much. Like I said, I don't watch this guy that much. I've seen like one or two of his other videos, so I'm not sure. But let's keep going with the video here. The adventuring thing, didn't really like it.
I literally could not have cared less about adventuring when going through this, and I was slowly hating him more and more the longer I was forced to play as this golden-haired fuckboy with freshly shaved testicles on his chest. Well, it's supposed to set up his motivations for the final battle, and yeah, and character story quests exist exactly for this reason. What they should have done is saved all of that for a...
Yeah, I mean, they kind of do that sometimes, is where they do that in Genshin, which is, it's fine, it's just how they do it. With adventuring, it's like, there's like an hour segment of him talking to himself in like ghost form. And I think it goes on for too long. I think my criticism for the adventuring part was it goes on for too long. You can explain a lot of these things, or these concepts you're trying to portray in Honkai Star Rail. And it goes on for too long. It's too philosophical to the point where it's off-putting, and it's kind of like they're trying to sound clever, but they aren't really, right? And that's something that Ashikai said. Like, they're trying to sound philosophical. They're trying to portray an idea to you that's like intellectual or whatever, but it's not. It's just jargon, and you can explain some of these things that happen in Honkai Star Rail story, especially Penacony, and it has to do with Shaoji. It's just his style of writing, and that style of writing I don't like. He reminds me of Tetsuya Nomura writing style. Like, Tetsuya Nomura is a character designer. He was a long time ago. He's a very good artist. He's made some of the most iconic video game characters in history, Tetsuya Nomura. But when he writes a story, it's jumbled nonsense, and it doesn't make any sense. Or it's like flowery, weird stuff. And Shaoji reminds me of Tetsuya Nomura writing style. Except for Shaoji is a lot more, he grinds in the philosophy, he grinds in the allegories and the platitudes and the like poetry, dialogue, and he grinds your nose in with that. And that's my criticism of Shaoji as a writer. I don't like it. I think it's bad. I think a lot of the characters stop acting like people, and they begin to act like they're reciting poetry from a book. And that's my criticism of this story and the characters and how they act.
After we, Trailblazer, go through our own story. Go through that, make Aventurine seem like the villain, have the big fight with Aventurine, yada yada yada. Then we have a character story quest unlocked where we flash back to go through all of Aventurine's stuff. That would recontextualize how we see him as a character and put everything in a new light. If you're familiar with Harry Potter, you'll understand what I mean. We go through that story thinking Snape is a bad guy out to get Harry. It's not until far into the later books that we get his backstory, and it completely changes how we see him as a character and his actions in the stories.
Well, that's one of my it's one of my issues with anime is a lot of anime does this, and now it's maybe I haven't watched like a proper anime in a while, but I noticed when I used to watch a lot of it is that they would have characters sitting there. They would trying to say a philosophical point and a poetic point, but then it's like, yeah, but who are you as a person? How do you feel about certain things? What are you going to do? Like, these questions, they kind of like take a back seat, right, to this whole display of philosophy and poeticism. And it's like, it doesn't really work. And that's why, look, go watch Arcane, okay? Go watch the recent Arcane. Go watch all 18 episodes, okay? Where the whole story is pushed along by character motivation. There's no hint of plot divide. Like, everything that happens in the plot is because a character willed it to happen, that's how writing should go. And also, characters act like people. They have faults. They make mistakes, right? And they don't overly explain things. You know what I mean? Anyways, that's just one of my criticisms about certain anime writing. And Shaoji, I think, is the prime example of that kind of writing. And I don't think it's interesting. Anyways.
So far, if we had known that backstory before all of this, it would have ruined many narratives and plot twists. Now back to Honkai Star Rail. So putting aside all the Aventurine stuff, we spent about 2.5 hours as Trailblazer, and what we were doing? Going from one location to another to stand around talking. Most of the dialogue is basically recapping what we just went through in 2.0. That is until the bar sequence. Quick question. What was the fucking point of that bar sequence? Did I miss something? Like, Shaban is hot and all, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But on the whole, the entire thing had nothing to do with the story at large, right? Seriously, what was the point? Just to set up that drink mixing minigame? Okay. Why is it in the main story quest though? It makes no sense at all. Howeverse, listen, I get that you want to make this game a more cinematic experience.
I'm going to be honest. The bar scene was so forgettable in that part of the story that I literally forgot what it was about. Like, when it came around, I'm like, what is this even about again? Like, I know there's a story tied to the bar minigame, but I'm talking about when it comes up in the HSR story. I'm like, it's really forgettable.
Cool. I like movies. But to do that, you've got to learn a thing or two about, cinema. Having people stand around talking for several minutes at a time with no changes in angle, character.
Oh yeah, one of the other criticisms I had is that a lot of these characters keep talking about how Aventurine is a risk taker, Aventurine is a gambler, and there's so many different characters that like try and drive that point to you through telling you, oh, this is how he is. This is to trust me. He's just a gambler. He's a risk taker, and it's like, okay, well, why don't you show us instead of like telling us, right? Now, so those are the kind of things. I disagree. He's going to make a point about show, don't tell. However, tell can work. It can work. It's just very hard to do it, right? And also it can overstay its welcome, where you're just telling things to people all the time, right? Now, show, don't tell is good because you want to use more of the visual medium to explain the story. And the more you do that, the more you have people immersed in your story, and you don't have to have unnecessary dialogue, right? But telling can work. It can definitely work. And you look at Quentin Tarantino movies. If you want a good example of where dialogue and telling the audience and dynamic dialogue and how it works and how it can be entertaining and interesting, Quentin Tarantino movies are the perfect example. Go watch a Tarantino movie. Then you'll understand, like most of the time, a Quentin Tarantino movie is characters sitting in a room and they're talking, okay? But it's really fucking interesting. You know why? Because the dialogue's interesting, because they're talking about stuff that matters, because they're talking about their motivations, what they think about certain things, right? And they're behaving like characters and people that react to things, right? So, but where telling goes wrong is if you're just sitting there with exposition dumps and you're saying, oh, this happened and that happened and this is like you're giving a history lesson, right? And then it's like, oh, I'm in a class and I'm like fucking studying for some kind of essay or something like that. And then it ceases to be entertainment, and then it becomes a fucking chore to read and listen to. And that's the example where telling goes wrong. But telling can go right. It doesn't always have to be show, don't tell. Okay? That's one of the things that people don't understand. You have to, like I said, watch a Quentin Tarantino movie and then you'll understand. Because most of the time in a Quentin Tarantino movie, it's just characters sitting around fucking talking to each other. But it's entertaining. Okay? So anyways.
Focus, zero character movement, or anything like that is just not interesting at all. And that's when they're trying. Like I mentioned before, there were way too many static shots or just straight up black screens in this patch. And here's the golden rule for cinematic storytelling, Hoyoverse. Show, don't tell. In fact,
yeah, he says it here, but like I said, it can work, but it has to just go watch a Quentin Tarantino movie. Also, Final Fantasy XIV does this a lot. There's a lot of yapping in Final Fantasy XIV, but it's mostly about what the characters are talking about. It's less exposition dump, and it's more like explaining character motivations and why they think this way they do, why we should, anyways, it's complicated, but it can be entertaining to have characters with a lot of dialogue, but it's very hard to do, and it's show, don't tell is an easier route to take. And it's a route you should take. But they save on this, like Fob was saying, that they don't do show a lot because it takes more resources. You have to make animations, custom animations and stuff. And it's just easier to show a static image and then have a bunch of dialogue, right? Because that just takes up less work development time wise, So anyways,
there were a total of 35 minutes and 54 seconds of scenes with static images, whereas a grand total of 24 minutes, 7 seconds actually in battle. At this point, Honkai Star Rail is the equivalent of Love and Deep Space, a visual novel with minor gameplay aspects. Which is fine for lads because that's what they marketed themselves as. Can't say the same with Honkai Star Rail though. And this tell, don't show style storytelling, using that word very loosely, continued into 2.2 as well. I think you can tell what I'm going to say about this patch too. Too much yap, not enough gameplay. At all. Not a single battle for 3 whole hours. And that one only lasted a couple of minutes too. In fact, there was one whole 15-minute section of nothing but...
I really don't like this Acheron and him talking to... This was some of the worst dialogue I've seen in Honkai Star Rail. where literally this guy, he's sitting there saying like vague lines about, about his motivations that don't really make any sense, because who is this guy? And then she's like trying to be somber. I just thought this was really uninteresting, like this whole section here. It was really boring.
Black screens and 2 static images. 15 fucking minutes. Jesus Christ. Imagine watching an episode of your favorite anime and it was just literally 1 or 2 pictures for the entire runtime. But at this point, I knew what I was kind of getting myself into, so let's just take it for what it is. Maybe I'll enjoy it more that way. Nope, but it's not as bad as Genshin. At least you don't have to listen to Paimon. Who needs Paimon? They do the exact same thing in Honkai Star Rail too. Repetitious, redundant dialogue talking about things we just did or things we don't care.
Okay, so why do I think Genshin is better? That's going to be a hard one to say, right? Because Paimon's problems have mostly been fixed. They are well aware that Paimon, I'll just show you. So where is it? Video clips to use.
This is who created Simulacra?
Wait.
Or more precisely,
Probably too loud.
M, one of the mages of the Hexenzirkel.
Okay, this was during the summer event, right? So the example given here is that the writers are very self-aware about Paimon now, right? Anyways, that's my wanderer name. Don't look at it.
As in Zirkel? As in
So talking about the Hexenzirkel.
Hexenzirkel? As in... Sorry, Paimon shouldn't just regurgitate everything you say. It's a lot to take in.
So it's a joke because the writers are very self-aware about Paimon now. Okay, so if you understand that, they realize that Paimon in the past was doing this way too much. Now Paimon is mostly fixed now, in my opinion. Also, there's no boobies in this pic, by the way, in this clip.
They're really fireproof, these boobies I happen to have.
But anyways, so Paimon is sort of fixed, right? Now, why is Genshin, do I think Genshin is better? Because when the dialogue in Genshin, the characters speak like people, and they don't speak like a poetry textbook, and there's not as much exposition dumps in Genshin. Exposition, you can have it sometimes. An exposition dump is basically a character explaining a situation about the past, or like it's the bad way of doing tell, not showing, right? But in Genshin that happens less frequently. In Honkai Star Rail it happens way too often. Okay, but anyways,
About. Sure, maybe it's not as annoying as Paimon's high-pitched screeching. But why is Sunday telling us about how Robin got shot in the neck? Again, too much tell, not enough show. Why aren't we seeing it? Now, I don't mean to go the full PG-13 route or anything like that. I mean, think of the children. But they could have done it in a way where we take control of Robin for a short period of time, where we see her helping the civilians. We see the war-torn location, the desolation, the despair, the tragedy, and Robin trying to be the shining ray of light, the song of hope for the people. We see her going around, helping people, and see hope return to their faces because of her. Then at the end, we can get a scene in the evening. The sun is setting, Robin's in the distance, backlit beautifully, leaving only a black silhouette. Then we hear a gunshot, and we see her fall to the ground. Fade to black. Cinema.
okay, I agree with him here. They should it wouldn't take that much development time, but they should definitely do more things like this instead of having like overly abundant dialogue, right? And they can do more of this stuff in Genshin too, but they kind of do. I can't think of an example right now, but like the recent Natlan quest, there was a lot of like, visual cues, but there wasn't that much I just don't think that Genshin is as dialogue heavy, and it's the flowery poetry words, and the characters act like characters, right? Spoilers, but this is spoilers for the last Genshin quest, but when Chaska was watching Koichi die, Koichi, it's necessary because the character is going out, right? And so they want to get the things that they want to say to Chaska off their chest. So you have that kind of dialogue because it makes sense at that moment, right? Because they're dying, they know they're dying, and they want to express their feelings and the things that happen to that character. So it makes sense. But a lot of the things that happened in Honkai Star Rail, especially with Penacony, was the why do birds fly? Like, and that was explained like 4 times in a row. And it's like, come on, man. Stop talking about why do birds fly. We get it. You don't have to say it that many times. And also, you don't have to say it in that way. You can just be straight about what you're trying to say. It's not clever. You're not really, it's not the appropriate time to talk about poetry. It just didn't make any sense. And it's, yeah.
Pure fucking cinema. We could have done all of that in about a 20 or 30 minute sequence. Reuse asset from Bellabog or something. It's not that hard. But no, we get Sunday yapping about it for several minutes, speaking in such a monotone drawl that I almost fell asleep.
Now you understand why she always wears such elaborate neck ornaments, don't you?
This was supposed to be his biggest motivating factor. This is why he was drawn to Order, and he talks with such apathy about the whole entire thing. His entire story is about him wanting to protect his sister, to keep her in a cage for her own protection, and she wants to be free despite the danger that might come to her. I'll give this to 2.2 though. It did start to explore interesting philosophical concepts with this plotline. They kept bringing up the question of is it better to be in a cage completely protected from harm, or is it better to be free even though you may get hurt? The whole thing between...
Yeah, but they brought this up way too many times. They brought this up way too many times. Like it's
Robin and Sunday is that their relationship is much like the bird in the cage flashback that was just brought up, and it was genuinely interesting. Well, it was the first time we heard it, but the amount of times they bring it up and not do anything with that concept until the very end just got annoying. I wasn't the only one that noticed this either. Even now there are people making Chamini Dove memes. I could go on about all the other things like how nobody seems to speak like a regular human being.
Still unwilling to reveal your true identity?
It's not that I don't want to. It's just that I can't. I've come so far, and I can't sum up all of that in just a few words.
also there was a scene with Akron and Welt where Akron is just going on an exposition dump about everything she's seen in Penacony and how it's actually not a perfect dream world, and it's, there's people suffering, and they're just like, and it's just like this massive exposition dump that Akron goes through. And it's like, that's not really interesting, bro. Like, wait. It's just not good, man. Anyways.
Not to mention that a lot of the dialogue sounds like it was written by an edgy 13-year-old trying to be deep. Why does life slumber? You're fucking kidding me with that line. What the fuck does that even mean? People think that's deep. Yeah, okay, whatever. And other issues that aren't really Honkai Star Rail specific, like the single choice dialogue options or the illusion of choice where you have...
Now, I just want to point out there, I'll stop pausing a lot, but I criticized Honkai Star Rail's story the day after I finished doing it, which was like day 2 or 3 of the patch. Okay? So now that he's made a video, it's been months. It's almost 3.0 Honkai Star Rail. And I said HSR story is not good. I just didn't go into deep reasons why I think it's not good. But I said this a long time ago. And that was back when everyone was telling me I'm a complete idiot. And they were all saying Pikakoni, right? I don't know how many people agree with this guy. I'm sure he's over-exaggerating a lot, but anyways.
Have like several options.
Now people are talking about it, right?
Thing and leads to no changes at all in the dialogue tree. Like, what is the point? But at this point, I think I'd be kicking a dead horse. On the whole, I think the gameplay and story in Honkai Star Rail is good. What do you mean it's good? You've just been ranting about it this whole time. Now, listen to what I'm saying. The gameplay is good. The story is good. The storytelling is absolute horseshit. It doesn't matter if you think Honkai Star Rail's gameplay is the best that gacha games can be. It doesn't matter.
Rednu, I watched Rednu, yeah. It's funny because Rednu, he doesn't like Genshin, but that's fine. But his opinion on Honkai Star Rail is almost the exact same as my opinion. Because I was watching his stream, and I think it was a couple of days ago he was talking about it. And yeah, he's talking about, I think he watched this video too. Maybe that's where I saw it, this video or something. Anyways.
No matter if the story is the best thing out there either. Now hear me out. You can have the most delicious kernel of corn in the world. This corn tastes so good it can change your life, and you'll never taste anything better than it in the entire world for the rest of your life. But if that kernel of corn is encased in a giant dog turd, I don't care how good it tastes, I'm not fucking eating that shit. Sure, the corn might be good, but getting there was an absolute nightmare, and I have the aftertaste of dog shit in my mouth. No thanks. I'm good.
It's good.
I've been meaning to play through
It's good.
2.3, 2.4, 2.5, and 2.6, but I just physically cannot get myself in the mindset of I'm about to put myself through torture right now. I'm about to put myself through torture. This is going to hurt. This is going to be painful. I am going to.
Well, that wasn't the only reason I quit Honkai Star Rail. It's not just because of the story, but I don't really like the turn-based combat as well. But anyways.
Myself. But why do I feel like this and the rest of the gacha community still raves about how good Honkai Star Rail is? Best storytelling? Are you fucking kidding me? This is what I think.
I'll be honest, I agree with him there. I was shocked. Well, not really, because I just feel like there was, at that time, HSR was getting glazed for literally everything. But the fact that it won an award for storytelling out of all things, I think is apt. I agree with him. Like, it's why? Like, I don't know. It's just, yeah.
I think it is. The people who think Honkai Star Rail is good are those who jumped on Honkai Star Rail from day one. They've been playing it every day, piecemeal, and they haven't noticed the gradual decrease in quality, like a frog in boiling water. If a frog is put in boiling water, it will immediately jump out. But if the frog is in cold water and you slowly increase the temperature, it won't notice the danger and it will be cooked to death. You're cooked. You are quite literally cooked right now. Well, actually, modern scientists say that due to the thermoregulation, frogs will still jump out, so you're actually wrong. George?
Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! Shut the...
Thank you, George. Even though I enjoy story-focused turn-based action RPGs, and I do, my favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy VIII, followed closely by Final Fantasy X.
Okay. Hot take here. I know a lot about Final Fantasy. This is weird, man, because Final Fantasy VIII story is considered to be not good. It's actually on the level, like his Final Fantasy VIII. I know a lot of people probably don't play Final Fantasy in here, or they haven't really played it. But Final Fantasy VIII in particular, one of the lower end stories on in the Final Fantasy franchise. 10 is pretty good. Final Fantasy X, he said next, is pretty good. Yeah, Final Fantasy VIII, not so much. It suffers from that. It suffers from the same thing, which is kind of weird why he said Final Fantasy VIII. And I know a lot about Final Fantasy VIII. Well, not I know a little bit. It's been a while since I played the game, but it suffers from character interactions feeling stiff and feeling like forced, and also like there's a lot of like unnecessary exposition and dialogue and stuff. So it's weird that he said Final Fantasy VIII, right? Now, if you Rebirth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, not the old one. The old one's a little bit hard to stomach because, you know, it's an old game and it's mostly just, there's no voices. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that's how you properly do character interactions, dialogue, storytelling. It's not a very complex story. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is very, or Final Fantasy VII story is very simplistic. But it's funny that he says Final Fantasy VIII here, because it kind of suffers from the same stuff that I don't like about anime storylines, which is weird that he says 8. But 10 is good. 10 is good. Anyways.
I just can't bring myself to drudge through dogshit storytelling like in Honkai Star Rail anymore. Even if I like the gameplay, as basic as it is, it's not worth it if it's only 5% of the game as a whole. No, wait, sorry, 3%. Almost gave it too much credit there. Fun but scarce gameplay, interesting core story ruined by terrible writing. Seriously, does anybody talk like a regular human? Just one. I just need one person, please.
That's okay. I will agree with him. Now, Final Fantasy VIII, it's not as bad as Penacony, I would say. Like how there's just fluff dialogue and it's just crazy, like platitudes and philosophy talk. It does suffer from like stiff dialogue and kind of like characters over explaining things, but the characters still act like people. And that's one of my main criticisms. When is someone just going to act like a person? You know what I mean? That's one of my main criticisms that I totally agree with him on. And I think too many stories, especially anime stories, in games, maybe in certain animes as well, is that they feel so hollow and stiff and bland, and they're talking about stuff like when are you going to act like a person, please?
Just exposition, repetition, jargon, and a lot left unexplained, leaving players feeling unsatisfied. This is what 90% of Honkai Star Rail is right now. And even if the rest of the 10% is all good, all great even, 90% is still the vast majority. And that's why I say, as a whole, Honkai Star Rail fucking sucks ass. Hey guys, just something I want to say to everyone out there. If you like Honkai Star Rail, just keep in mind that this is not a personal attack on you for liking that game. I'm not going to say like...
Okay, he's got to defend himself here.
Anything like you're stupid for liking it. If you do like it, then I'm genuinely happy for you. But these are the reasons why, personally, I don't like this game, and I just needed to get them off my chest for everyone to hear, because very often I'm not...
So, yeah, that's fine. I'm totally fine with this. Like, I don't like Honkai Star Rail as well. I disagreed with some of his points here, but I mostly agree that Penacony was not good. I think it was, honestly, anyways, you know, I said everything why I thought it was not good, but I don't like when it comes to awards and stuff like that. Like, for instance, my game of the year is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. However, and like I said, I think the dialogue is good. I think the characters are genuinely funny in the game. I think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, it has genuinely like funny moments. Characters are very well written. The overall narrative, should it win Best Narrative? No. It should not win Best Narrative. I think it's the game of the year because I like the game, and I think it's just like you can spend like 200 hours there's like hundreds of hours of content in the game, right? However, with something like Honkai Star Rail winning Best Narrative, that was like, what? Like, do people even understand what good writing is anymore? How could it win Best Narrative? That's crazy to me. Like Penacony, anyways. So, yeah, like I said, I mean, Honkai Star Rail has good things, like the character designs are cool. Some of them, you know, like there's hot girls, and you know, the girls like the hot guy characters or whatever. But like my analogy of Honkai Star Rail was, it's a cake made out of icing, and it's a very thin layer of cake. It's mostly style, and there's not much substance. That's why I don't like Honkai Star Rail.
I hear people say that they like Honkai Star Rail. I say I don't, and they say why. And whenever that comes up now, I can just point to this video and say, just watch this and you'll understand why. As I mentioned before, there's a lot to like about Honkai Star Rail. Like the game design, the character design, the music is amazing.
Yeah, the music is really good.
The finale cutscenes and all of a sudden, I really enjoy all of those. But when it comes to actual core gameplay itself, in comparison to how much of it we actually get in...
Like what I mean by a cake made out of icing is that all the production value is really good. Character animations, character design, character design, character, music, right? Like all the things that are like usually icing on the cake. But when you take out all of that and you like look at the meat of the game and the core of the game and what holds it up, like the combat system for me personally is too simplistic, right? Now, some people are saying they like it because it is simple and they're not really into turn-based games anyways. So because the game is simple and the turn-based combat is simple, then that's why they like the game, which is perfectly valid. That's fine. I understand that. You don't want something to be too complicated that you can't get into it. But to me, when I play a turn-based game, it has to be more complex than just what Honkai Star Rail has. So for me, when I say it's a cake made out of icing, when I peel back all these layers that are usually icing on the cake, I don't find anything substantial about the game to keep me playing, right? Now, but yeah, like some of the like Kafka, the characters' designs are really good. I mean, some of them, I think some of them are a bit over. Like Sparkle. People are probably going to hate me for this, but I don't think Sparkle's that compelling of a character, especially narrative-wise. Like, Sparkle was pretty lame in the story to me, too. But anyways.
This game, I don't think it measures up. And the further we go along in Honkai Star Rail, the further I feel like Hoyo just doesn't really want us to play this game, like, at all. Like, with the whole auto-battling system, it's very useful. It's very convenient as well, so don't get me wrong on that. But, like, with the amount of... should I say, the lack of combat or the lack of gameplay in the actual story itself, combined with more recent characters such as Akron using her skill to instantly get rid of the other mobs as well. It just feels like more and more they're just giving us more reasons not to do the thing that we came to this game to.
The point he's making here about Acheron's skill outside of combat, just instantly killing trash mobs. I made this point in my video about why I'm uninstalling Honkai Star Rail. It's that they're giving players more of tools to just bypass the combat. And yeah, so it's like they know the combat is not really the core focus of the game. So they just give characters tools to bypass like the trash mobs, right? It's like, how many times are you going to, you're not going to lose that fight, right? When you fight a trash mob encounter, right? But they want you to not engage with it because they know it's going to be too repetitive and too boring. Well, it's like, okay, you could say, well, in Genshin, I'm probably not going to lose to fight these Hilichurl mobs around the map, right? But I don't know why, but in Genshin, when I just kill a bunch of Hilichurls or whatever, it just feels like, I mean, it doesn't feel like overly repetitive because you have to like go into combat in Honkai Star Rail and watch characters fight these mobs, these animations play out over long. Anyways, I can get into more criticisms about Honkai Star Rail about how ultimate animations, even in 2x speed, last way too long, and I was tired of seeing the Harmony main character's animation like repeat over and over and over again. And it was like, oh man, it's like, okay, it's cool the first few days watching it, but how many times do I want to watch the same animations over and over and over and over from the same camera angle? But anyways, it's like, anyways. If you like Honkai Star Rail, that's fine. Like I said, I don't want to like beat. I think it's. I can't sugarcoat it. I mean, I like Wuthering Waves a little bit more, but like Wuthering Waves has better combat in my opinion, but the icing on Wuthering Waves cake is a bit bland. Anyways, let's put it that way.
Do in the first place. Does that make sense? And I'm sure I'm going to hear some people say, well, just don't use Acheron then. Well, first of all, that's completely missing the point. Second of all, you realize that when you say that, when you're talking like that you sound like the people that are defending Genshin that are saying, oh, well, just don't use Hyperbloom then. Like, why would I not use what I have in my arsenal?
Well, Hyperbloom, let's talk about Hyperbloom. Hyperbloom is not as dominant as it was. And Hyperbloom is long. It's not in the conversation of being like overly dominant. The reason why Hyperbloom is good is because it's easy to build a team around Hyperbloom that's not very difficult to invest in for like accounts that are new, like new player accounts. You can build a Hyperbloom team very easily, and that's why Hyperbloom is good. However, Hyperbloom is not as dominant as what it once was, right? So yes, that there was a period in time where Hyperbloom was like the best, but it's not the case anymore, right? Where there's like straight Nouvellette teams that, Nouvellette's just, I would say Nouvellette is dominant. Let's not even talk about Hyperbloom. Let's talk about Nouvellette. That's what I'd say.
And it's the same thing I'm hearing quite often. All the things I hear people say that they hate about Genshin, they defend vehemently in Honkai Star Rail.
That's true. That's what he says here, though, is true. I made the argument about Hyperbloom. Hyperbloom is a long since it's not really a thing anymore. There's definitely teams you could put on par. Like Navia's cracked. You don't run Hyperbloom with Navia, but so Hyperbloom is out of the picture. But Honkai Star Rail players, they were at one point, and I think they still do, is that things that they would criticize about Genshin, they would defend in Honkai Star Rail. But yeah, that's just my observation. That's what they do a lot, honestly.
Don't understand.
They do it in Wuthering Waves too.
Why they give Honkai Star Rail a pass when they absolutely rag on Genshin for it? They're both just as bad in my opinion. I know this video is going to get downvoted to hell, but that's fine. I know that's just what it's going to be. I'll take Ryuko Sensei in this case, I guess. Because I bet most of the people won't really watch past the first 30 seconds. They'll just leave a downvote, a negative comment, and just go on with their life. And again, that's just the nature of things. Another thing I know that's going to happen is I'm going to get people in the comments saying, you only dislike it because you're a Kuro shill for Wuthering Waves. And that's just not the case. I made my first video about Honkai Star Rail way back in March, if I remember correctly, in March or April, way before Wuthering Waves came out. And I've always had these opinions about Honkai Star Rail. So it really isn't a case of me wanting to shill for any particular game or company over another one. It's just the way I feel about this. And in fact, I actually have another video in the works right now, kind of being really quite critical about Wuthering Waves. Maybe not as hard as this video here, but still quite critical. So
No, we'll see. I'll watch that video, I guess. Maybe I'll react to it, buddy.
I don't know. Take that for what it's worth. But to all you out there that actually watch this video to the end, just know that I greatly appreciate you, even if you disagree with me on Honkai Star Rail. It's just different things for different people, you know? And while I'm recording this, the latest live stream hasn't been announced yet, so I have no idea what the new stuff is going to be like. But honestly, I don't really think it matters to me at all. I'm going to say it again. If you liked Penacony, if you like Honkai Star Rail, all the best to you. I honestly don't really care. It's fine. Like I said, I'm not going to say you're stupid for liking Honkai Star Rail.
He's gonna say this for another 2 minutes.
Everyone likes different things, and these are just the reasons why it doesn't suit my particular taste. It's nothing to do with me not liking story. I do. It's nothing like not liking turn-based action RPGs. I do. It's just I don't feel like this game respects my time as a.
Okay, that's fine. He's probably just gonna say like, what? Okay, here we go. So he's gonna say like, you know, if you like Honkai Star Rail, that's fine. He doesn't like it. It's his opinion. Obviously, it's the same. It's a disclaimer. Everyone just has their own personal opinion. If you disagree, that's fine, right? So this video, now this was a conversation. I was watching Sekapoko stream. I don't usually watch the guy, but because he had Ashikai on the stream,
Yeah. But like,
she was talking about Honkai Star Rail, right? And she also talked about Wuthering Waves too, but I didn't get that recorded. So anyways, like I said, I don't really watch Sekapoko that much, but let me change. You can see his head there if you want.
I didn't understand anything that was happening the entire time. And
So-
Star Rail story,
This is actually
all the way up to Penacony, was like,
This is her talking about her criticism about Honkai Star Rail's story. And this was a while ago, but I kind of agree with her a lot of things. However, she says one thing is that the story itself was compelling, but it's just how it was presented was not. And I disagree with that. I just don't think compelling, or anyways, you'll hear what she has to say. But
sci-fi mumbo
Yeah.
jumbo. Okay, I understand. Yep, totally get it.
So this is actually my problem with Star Rail's writing.
Sure.
Is that the writing isn't satisfying in a way that I enjoy, in the sense of like, it's okay for a story to be complicated and to have a lot of moving parts.
Sure.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
There's lots of people who enjoy those sorts of stories. I'm one of them. And I also do really appreciate simple stories too. But I like all stories as long as they're well written. The problem is that the way Star Rail's writing comes off, it's like the writer is standing right next to you the whole time and goes, "That's clever, right? That's clever. That's clever, right?"
yeah, so I don't know how the volume is on this. Can you guys hear this video that I'm playing? But basically I agree with her here, is that the writer Shaoji is like, he's using all these philosophical points and dialogue and platitudes and poetry and stuff like that because he's like, hey, this is clever. You get it? You get it? It's clever. You see how I'm saying things? You really like the words I'm using and how I'm saying it? It's really clever, right? And that's but it's like very forceful. And it's like, but that's her, that's what I agree with her on. She's basically just saying what I've said for ever since the story came out. But
This is good. This is good. Right? Like that's the vibe that I have, like going through the whole story, like
Like
with
a guy
Penacony
elbow you in the
especially.
shoulder, going ah, like that.
Yeah, like the writing wants you to think the writers are clever more so than they want you to be satisfied with whatever it is you're experiencing. I'm not quite sure how to articulate this feeling in a way, but that's kind of like where I'm at with it.
My mom
Like, I had a
calls
really
it
hard
slapstick
time.
comedy versus.
I'll read the chat after this.
No, it's like they're trying to be deep, but they're trying to be deep for the sake of being deep rather than to let something be deep for like existing in how it is.
So that she makes a good point there is that like I was saying, is that they're using all these philosophical poetry, flowery words, platitudes, whatever. They're trying to be deep, but it's really when you dig into what they're saying and how they're presenting it to you, it's very puddle. It's like a puddle. It's not an ocean, right? And to be deep requires a lot of setup. Like you need a lot of setup in order to be deep. And a good example of a deep story is Sumeru and Rukkhadevada's story. Okay, perfectly good example. Okay, that story, in my opinion, crushes Penacony. Okay, why? Because first of all, it's a mystery unraveling, right? So Sumeru's story with Nahida and Rukkhadevada and World Forget Me. So you're thrust into this story in Sumeru. You're learning about the land. You're learning about the past of Rukkhadevada, King Deshret, right? And how Irminsul was corrupted. And then you're trying to figure out what this all means, right? The corrupted knowledge, how the academia is using, trying to use forbidden knowledge to create a god, and how they covet wisdom, but they're not really wise. And you can see that it's explained very well why they're not wise is because they're looking at things from a very surface level perspective, right? And then all of a sudden, as the story goes on, and then you finally get to the root, pun intended, of Irminsul's problem is where Nahida confronts Rukkhadevada, and she says, well, and the payoff there, it was all set up for the payoff, is that the line that really says, may the world completely forget me, right? And so why that worked and why it's deep is because it's really an allegory. It's what I saw it was, and I took away from it was, what's worse than just dying is being completely forgotten, right? Like you have no one to remember you. Like it's kind of a fate. What's a fate worse than death? Is that you never even existed to begin with, right? And no one, and so you could say, well, does that really matter? Whatever. That's another question, right? But it all built up to that, right? And that's why that scene was really hit emotionally, in my opinion, right? And why it works is because at the end, when Rukkhadevada is speaking to the people of Sumeru, she is using flowery poetic words, and it works in that moment because it was set up, and the payoff was deserved because there was setup, right? And she's still acting like a character, and then the people in the story act like humans. They have human emotions, they have motivations, they have flaws, right? The academia was wrong. These people they're not being wise, right? Right. So that's why, in my opinion, Sumeru is way better than Penacony. I think that was around the same time. I don't know. I think maybe it was Fontaine and Penacony was around the same time. But I think that's a good example of being deep and letting the payoff speak for itself instead of trying to force depth and tell people the moral of the story. You have to present it to them in a way that it's going to feel natural and it's going to resonate with people, right? So yeah, so that's basically what it is. Well, anyways, she says more about HSR here.
Right, like for example, in Penacony, I didn't need this philosophical discussion going on about why do people sleep. Like I didn't need every single person reiterating their point of view on something, because like at some point in the story it was answered, right?
Yeah.
Like they gave you the answer, but then people kept saying, well, this is my opinion, this is my opinion, I was like, okay, but like narratively this question no longer serves any purpose, because
Mhm.
we've also realized that sleep isn't actually sleep; it's dormancy, and like all this other like. And like the way that they write it is so convoluted because they want you to feel like it's clever, and it doesn't let the actual story stand on its own merits, because if you reduce the story to its bullet points, it's a good story, right?
Okay.
But because of the like sheer the weird exposition in the way that they write it, it doesn't come off that way.
Well, she said if you reduce the story to its bullet points, it's a good story. Well, it's hard to say because the way they presented it, I think part of why a good story is how it's presented, right? And that's what a lot of the issues with Inazuma, that's why Inazuma failed, is because the way Inazuma was presented was not good. And that's why it's not a good story. So, yes, it could have been about redemption and why Raiden, she was ultimately wrong. Give me a second. Excuse me, I had to clear my throat. But ultimately, why Raiden is wrong and the civil war between Watatsumi and Narukami Island and whatever. But the reason why Inazuma was bad is because it was presented wrong, right? And you can tell that story if you present it in a different way, and you can show the people suffering about the war and them losing their visions and stuff in a better way. They'll be more interesting, right? So, anyways.
And just to compare it with Genshin, I won't go much longer, I promise.
No, I have a
Just
point.
to compare it with Genshin, Genshin is also very long-winded, but Genshin tends to be a lot more straightforward.
Yes.
Right? And so when something is clever, it feels clever, and it never really feels like the writers want you to like acknowledge that they were clever. Like they just kind of let it exist. Even though like the plot of Genshin's very simple, what happens is very simple, like
yes.
I never really feel like that guy's in the room like sitting with me like watching me watch the thing, waiting for me to praise him and be like, oh my god, that was so good.
So to summarize in one sentence, you have a problem with Honkai Star Rail not being subtle enough with their level of being clever.
Yeah, it's like they can't decide whether to talk down to me or talk up to me.
Yeah, okay, agreed.
And I'm like...
Anyways, it goes on. But basically, that's the point she makes. And I just think that you can overbloat a story, and Xiaoji just bloats the story way too much. And anyways, let me read the chat, guys, and then I think I'll read the chat, and I think I'm going to call it after that. Pikakoni is overrated for real. People over on Gacha Enjoyer really started shitting on him. He even got some racial slurs. What, this guy? The lore is actually good in Wuthering Waves, just ruined by too much info early on and little character meet interactions. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to. A really good example of explaining things too quickly to an audience is Final Fantasy 13. The reason a lot of people, if you don't know Final Fantasy, is one of the most hated games in the series, Final Fantasy 13, because the storytelling is way garbage. Like, it's trash, right? And the reason why that is because at the beginning of the game, they're throwing these things at you, and you have no idea what they're talking about. They're talking about like weird concepts, and it's like, why the hell are they saying these like weird names that have there's no reference to them at all, and they don't even tell you this stuff for like hours into the story, right? But Wuthering Waves, I guess, sort of they talk about the lament, or no, I don't know if they talk about that at the beginning, but you can thrust someone into a story too hard, and it can turn them off of the story. So that's another issue that you can do that's it'll turn people off of the story. Let me read it. Let me read chat some more. For example, remember all the hoo-ha about overclocking in 1.1? The Sentinel and the Magistrate were extremely dependent on Rover. Meanwhile, we have a Calcharo who overclocks like it's nothing since 1.0. I don't remember that. Okay, I can't criticize Wuthering Waves story too much because I've recently since stopped paying attention to Wuthering Waves story. Now this I reacted to this guy's video because he's talking about Honkai Star Rail and he's talking about particularly Penacony, which I did all of it up until then, and then I quit in 2.3. So he hasn't spoke about the new story in Honkai Star Rail. I don't know if it's that bad. I heard it's about the Lao Fu and there's like some wolf people and Foxian people or so. I don't know the story in Honkai Star Rail anymore, but he's talking about the story that I know about. And that's why I reacted to this video. So, but with Wuthering Waves, the story turned me off early on, and I just sort of stopped paying attention to a lot of it. But I do watch like streamers play through sections of the story later on, and yeah, it's just it's not compelling. Like it's a lot of Rover pandering, and it's a lot of just like basically that's what it is. It's like Rover pandering, and I don't know. Not really. It's just Jinshi only properly. When Rover was there, Rover themselves didn't actually do that much in the segment. Gotcha, Enjoyer's video. Maybe next time. I've been streaming for a while. I gotta get some food or dinner. It's almost dinner time. Hold on. Revenue stopped. Also, someone was saying, why can't I donate? I'm not partnered. I am too small a streamer. I'm too small, man. I'm not partnered, and yeah, I think I need 1,000 subs to or not partnered. I don't know what it's called on YouTube. I haven't even looked into it, but I think I need 1,000 subs to start getting advertisement on my video, and then I'll start getting a little bit of money. But I don't know how to set up donations either as well. But don't worry about it. I'm just going to make content for now. Maybe I'll grow in the future, but I just want to interact with the community, react to, some things, play some games, make a fun little community. There was a little bit of drama with the Discord stuff, but yeah, anyways, for now, it's just, I don't think I can make money on YouTube. Not right now. Genshin has Paimon, HSR has March 7th. Yeah, Yang Yang, Wuwa has Yang Yang. Yang Yang, they call her Yap Yap. But she was definitely an exposition dump character. And she would just like sit there and tell you things about the world and the story and the lore and stuff just out of nowhere. And either 5 minutes of the video in the end or just say how much he doesn't want to just shit on HSR. Yeah, I mean, what can you do? I personally discredit this kind of criticism because it's lazy and has no substance. Just saying I don't like this story without giving an explanation is the exact same thing. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying about Genshin though. Like, Genshin gets criticized, I think fairly to some extent. Also, my chat keeps glitching out and I have to like reload it. But like a lot of people say that Inazuma's story in Genshin is not good. And most people generally agree with that, right? So it's just, I feel like a lot of these other gacha games, a lot of their fan base, they're not honest with the games and the criticisms of certain things in the game. And that's what was starting to bother me about where people were shitting on Genshin, deservedly so in certain areas like low rewards Inazuma was bad. Paimon used to be like this character that just repeated and regurgitated stuff that you already knew. Paimon since improved, but the story has also improved in Genshin. And I think that's what I think, like, Genshin gets and receives criticism. Like I'm saying, I think it receives criticism mostly honestly, but I think the tides are turning now. It's like Genshin just is getting shit on for like just so many things, like for no reason now. It's like, okay, you don't like Chaska. How many times do we have to hear that you don't like Chaska, right? It's like they think she's you would think that these people think that Chaska is like the devil incarnate because her character design is so unappealing to them that it's like, okay, great. But so but at the same time, I feel like a lot of these other communities, they don't criticize their game enough where it should be criticized, and they kind of glaze it way too much, and it's like, yeah, it's getting a little bit weird and off-putting. But anyways, that's what they want to do. If they want to say their game is like the perfect best thing ever, then it kind of raises more red flags. Like when a game is popular and people are calling it shitty and it's a crappy game, it kind of makes me more interested in the game. It's like I used to play League of Legends, okay, a lot, like years ago. Honestly, I don't play League of Legends that much anymore. But League of Legends, yeah, it has a toxic community because it's a good game. Honestly, if you think about it, League of Legends is pretty good. Like when I played League, it was fun. It's just I didn't want to. It's more of like a sports game, right? It's an esports game basically, but anyways, let me read chat some more. So in a year or two, you think there will be people who'd care about him at that point? Who are you guys talking about? Calcharo? I think Calcharo is power crept already by Zhangli Yao. Like for me on my account, there's no point in using Calcharo ever again because Zhangli Yao is just 10 times better than him. Anyways, I don't think. Okay, someone said Calcharo and Zhangli Yao do similar amounts of damage. Calcharo was just harder. Sure, but I don't know. Maybe I just had a bad weapon for Calcharo. Maybe if you have Jian's sword or something, or I stopped using him before I got the 5-star standard sword. But even still, like if you're using the 5-star standard sword, then you have to build good echoes. You have to get really good echoes on him. And my Zhangli Yao, I don't know. I just think he's just way easier. He is easier to use, but he just did for me, just way more damage. Like Calcharo was kind of a limp. The damage was way devastating. All that investment to EM just to be irrelevant in a single patch. Yeah. I think Calcharo got power crept way too early. But the thing is with Calcharo, if you used his quick swap you quick swapped off of him into like his charge attack or whatever, and then you quick swap, like realistically, how much are you getting out of the character that you quick swap into? Like not really that much, right? I don't know. I just feel like Zhangli Yao is just way better. Either way, fuck that stupid game. Wasted too much of my time trying to convince myself that it wasn't ass. Which game? You talking about HSR? Inazuma's main story isn't good. I was personally frustrated with certain things, but the world quests are actually good. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but it was pretty weird. Yeah, well, Inazuma's story was the biggest whiplash story as regards to pacing I've seen in a long time. So the whiplash is that the start of Inazuma was so boring. Okay, the start of Inazuma was so fucking boring. Like Ritu, you go into Inazuma and then you have to listen to people talk about regional politics and like why people are barred from entering, and you got to like deal with like a passport thing, and then all of a sudden, so it's like super slow and super boring, and then finally you get into Narukami Island, and then you talk to Ayaka, and she's like, "Oh, go meet these 3 random NPCs," where you talk about why their visions, why they're gone crazy now, and they're losing their ambition because they lost their vision, right? And you got to sit through like, looking at my watch, like how many NPCs do I have to listen to know that they lose their ambition? And so it's like super boring, like listening to these random NPCs. And then halt, you have to do Ayaka and Yoimiya's story quest to even advance to the next part of Inazuma, right? Okay, there's that one cutscene in the middle with Raiden, and it's kind of cool. She pulls the sword out of her boobs, and it's like, yeah, she's cool, right? But then after that part, then the pacing is like breakneck speed. So the first part of Inazuma was just like boring politics and listening to random NPCs. It's like slow as molasses. The story's going like crazy slow. And then the pacing of the second act of Inazuma is like breakneck speed, like boom. Like, what the hell just happened? Like, you fight like a civil war, which is like one skirmish. There's one skirmish battle. And then you go to Watatsumi Island. Teppei dies in like 5 minutes. And then you go and convince Raiden that she's been a naughty girl and she has to stop having a temper tantrum. Right? So, so Inazuma's story suffered from pacing, like, is so hard. Like, the pacing was the biggest issue, and it ruined the story. And yeah, but people are honest about why Inazuma was bad, right? But I feel like they're not honest about Honkai Star Rail, right? And so that's fine. But if you like Shoji's writing, I think it's bad. Even Tectone says he thinks Inazuma was good, which is crazy, right? It's like, okay, sure. I mean, whatever. But anyways, the potential with Quick Swap is 2x damage if you have double DPS uptime. I wonder how long it'll take Kuro to realize I've been macroing their endgame to fix it. You keep talking about Wuthering Waves macros, but I don't even know how that works. You need like a separate program. Funny thing is, the Tectone says that Inazuma's storyline, he says that Inazuma's storyline was the best. And I'm like, what? So is there like a subsection? I feel like there's a section of people out there that they really don't understand storylines and what makes them good and interesting. And they just they like the spectacle of the story, right? It's like, as if there's more spectacle, they don't really pay attention to the narrative that's being presented to them. But it's like, oh, the music's cool, and like there's this cool fight scene, and oh yeah, did you see that really cool boss fight? And it's like, yeah, but I had to listen through a bunch of mumbo jumbo nonsense for like hours before I got to all that stuff, right? Whereas, so I feel like there's some people out there that are like that, and it's, cool, but you got to kind of understand that to make the rest of the story interesting, then you probably shouldn't bore people for like hours while you're trying to explain things. But because payoff has to matter. But Tectone, the allegations for Tectone. What's new in Genshin World? Mavuika. Yeah. Anyways, okay, guys, I'm getting a bit hungry. I didn't expect to be like a super long stream. Also, this is usually around the time. I think this is the time slot I'm probably gonna fill. Eastern time, maybe a little bit earlier, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Or I'm only gonna stream maybe 2 or 3 hours, something like that. Not every day, but yeah, I'm also going to think about the next videos I'm going to make as well. Hopefully, the Discord is closed off for now. there's supposedly a Neverness to Everness beta on the 28th of November, but it's only for China. But we might be able to get more information about the game. And what else? Yeah, so I don't know. I kind of took a break because of the drama, and it was like it was getting a little bit too childish, like fighting with each other about in the Discord with, and also I didn't really want to moderate people, and yeah. So, all right, guys, I'll think about the next content I'm gonna do. I guess I'm gonna play Wuthering Waves till 2.0 and just see what the new region brings. I don't know if they're gonna release. I'd be interesting to see if they release the entire map in one patch. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I've already played Wuthering Waves this long, even though I'm a bit bored with the game. But I do want to see what 2.0 is like. What? It's still like a month and a month. I think it's releasing the same day 5.3 is, like the same time. 5.3 Genshin. So yeah, I'm gonna play Wuthering Waves until then. And if 2.0 isn't really interesting to me, Wuthering Waves, then I'm probably gonna slowly put the game down and not play it as much. And yeah, and then figure out the next game to play. Hopefully Neverness to Everness comes out. But yeah, I am getting a little bit bored with Wuthering Waves. Like, I honestly don't find the combat that interesting. Like I said, it's like it's only 3 characters. It's mostly just doing your intro and outro skills, and the character kits themselves, they're kind of, I don't know. It just doesn't feel interesting, right? And most of the other parts of the game are like pretty bland to me. And I'm not saying I like Genshin only for the combat. I think the elemental reaction system is interesting enough for team building and stuff like that. But I mostly like Genshin for the story and the world building and the characters, and yeah. So, anyways, we'll see what happens with 2.0, man. I don't know what's gonna happen with Wuthering Waves 2.0, but yeah. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna stop streaming here, and yeah, I don't know if I'll stream tomorrow. Still might want to take a little bit of a break, but if I do stream, it'll be around this time, because that's probably, I think no one's really covering this time slot for like gacha streamers, honestly. Like FOB starts in like an hour, and then so other streamers aren't really covering this time slot, so I'll just, maybe that'll be my time slot. Anyways, so all right, guys, take it easy, and I'll see you next time. Yeah, have fun, and I'll let you know when I'm streaming next. I don't know when. I still, like I said, I might take a break still for a little while. But yeah, take it easy, guys. Have fun. I'll see you next time, okay? Peace out.